slip through the system, yet the goodness never sees the light of day.
That's right. If you're watching live right here on Facebook, you're watching the Crayola Sec Harsh Reality. This is also live on internet radio on CSHR Radio, as well as WCHR 104.9 FM, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Once again, our number is 1-844-900-2747. And, of course, I get tongue-tied right off the bat. Tonight we have a special guest with us, Miss Preity Upala, an ex-investment banker, multimedia entrepreneur, international speaker, global citizen, Miss India, geopolitical expert, and Dharma Ambassador. And she's also got a new book coming out soon, and we'll be talking to her in just a second. And right now, here's Mr. Harshmed and myself, and this is the Crayola Sec Harsh Reality.
Namaste, everybody. That's what you say for those of you listening. That's what you say at the beginning of the conversation, not the end of one. But, some of these new age idiots will never learn that lesson. Anyhow, we thank, of course, Mr. Scott Saunier and his lovely French tongue for being able to do that introduction of one Miss India International, Preity Upala. And you got a new book coming out.
Namaste, Harsh, and namaste, Scott. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. It is such a pleasure to be on your show. Lovely to connect with everybody across America and the world.
Yeah. Absolutely. We're great to have you here. It's going to be like old times and new times and, well, anything else in between. So, yeah, let's get right to it. I mean, there's so much to talk about when it comes to the geopolitical landscape, our culture, our religion, and, and of course, your new book. Let's dive into the book real quick. What's that about first?
Well, it's still being written, and I don't have a publication date yet. I believe in divine timing, and it'll come out when it's ready. But it will look at soft power, geopolitics, diplomacy, and all that good stuff, because those are areas of my expertise and passion. I think it'll be a very interesting book. If I pull this off, I think I'll be the first woman in the world to write a book on this very specific topic. So I'm going for history here, and
really?
can't wait. Yeah.
The first woman ever to write on about a topic like that. I could have.
The specific, it's the niche specific topic.
Oh, okay, because I could have sworn there was some Western politicians that have written lies about their foreign policy history before. So yeah. I could have said that. So. But no, let's get into it. I guess with geopolitics, anything you want to talk about in general with that, because it's such a clusterfuck when it comes to how the deep state works and all these other operatives and all this other stuff. So.
Yeah, it is so. I think what this conflict and COVID, what both of them have done, have completely rebalanced the powers in the world. They've realigned, I would say, the balance of power in the world, the power, I guess the power structure, the power gambit, and the global gambit, so to speak. It is actually for the better. Now, I know that people talk about the Great Reset when they talk about the Davos World Economic Forum, but I'm not talking about that Great Reset. I'm talking about a realignment. They're two completely. Actually, they're the opposite.
Right. Although to be fair,
it's not about.
Although to be fair, after what I've seen after what Scott and I have seen in the last few years, maybe that Great Reset wouldn't be so bad either.
No. That Great Reset is about social engineering. Having some people. Again, it's always going to be the West.
No, I'm joking about that, by the way. I think I'm joking about that. We'll see.
There's a lot of people who are waiting for that reset. That ain't coming. Even Carl Schwab admitted himself that the Great Reset, this globalization project, hasn't gone the way that he had anticipated. So he's quick to actually regroup and move with the times. And this Davos, I don't know if you followed it, but it should have been called the Indian Village, because India was everywhere on the map in a good way. So it wasn't a part of the social engineering project. They were there promoting themselves as this great rising power, which they are. So and they took over, and people completely bought into it. They did a ton of business there, and I think out of all these failed states and these clown leaders that we have, India has emerged as a stable, mature country with very stable leadership that people actually like and respect internally and externally to lead the way. So they've positioned themselves very nicely. I think it's been a great WEF for India. I don't think it's been very good for anyone else.
No, clearly it hasn't. And I do find it ironic that that a prime minister who literally who opened his speech at Madison Square Garden saying, "May the force be with you." The guy who's known for that is somehow led, say what you want about his, whatever. So some of his controversies has actually led to some economic stability. That to me is just nuts. But I can't believe it happened.
Well, are you talking about Prime Minister Modi?
Yeah.
Well, he has a history of very good governance, right? He was chief minister, completely turned that state around, and since 2014, I think India's really been on the map. I mean, there's, in so many ways, I think they are able to benefit from the fallout, let's say, globally of failed leadership and just rogue states and the distrust that is there towards China, for example. India can totally occupy that. There's a huge void now on so many levels. And India is occupying that, and it can do so much more. And I think slowly we're going to see it rise more. And it's saying, especially post-conflict, hey, we are sovereign. We have 1.4 billion people that we need to take care of. We're 1/6 of humanity. We've been around for thousands of years. We don't need a lecture on anything, diplomacy, freedom, secularism, or whatever. We make choices that are going to be benevolent to us and the world, because we're not rogue like you guys, and we're not juvenile. So and I think people, they're forced to buy into it. Even this administration in the US, I mean, there's always rhetoric, but now everybody's fallen in line. They don't even bother bringing up those in India's non-aligned stance, I think, when it comes to conflicts, which is, by the way, the right position to have, because this is not their war. So, yeah.
Paul Hanier says BRICS might derail the reset.
BRICS, that's a very interesting point.
And
yes.
Right. Well, Arabia was left off of that, but yeah, Brazil, Russia, India, China, Saudi Arabia.
Which is ironic.
South Africa. South Africa. I'll tell you a little bit about BRICS. People think BRICS is they think it's an Asian NATO. It's not. And it's also not an Asian EU either. No. They don't have it's not a military alignment. It's just the top 5 emerging economies, the biggest emerging economies in the world, who just want to have easier trade with each other. That is all. They don't have this common currency. I think some conspiracy theorists will say that, BRICS is going to come out with this currency. Now, I do not see that happening, because you got countries that hate each other's guts.
Could you imagine the Indians and the Chinese trying to have their own united currency? Come on.
It's not going to happen.
Putin would commit suicide before he did anything before he united with the Brazilians on anything.
No. Brazil, India, great relationship.
I said Russia and Brazil.
Oh, Russia.
I think Putin would kill himself before he started agreeing on a currency with freaking South Africa or Brazil. I don't know what he's.
Everybody gets along except India, China. They are the adversaries in this group, so they are not going to go for some. What I will say is that the de-dollarization has begun on a very. It's in its infancy, because countries are starting to at least settle their trade deficits in their currency. So India, when it does trade with Russia, it deals in rupees or the ruble. and we're seeing China has been doing it for a while with their currency. So we'll see a little bit more of that. I think the real game changer is when Saudi Arabia decides to, go through all of its petrodollar transactions in the real. Now, I don't know if they have the balls to do that. That will be, it'll
I
turn
mean,
me,
they'll do whatever Israel or the U.S. tells them to do. If Israel
yes,
said,
oh, but we're seeing a stronger Saudi now, where they're like, especially MBS, he's giving everybody the middle finger and saying, hey, I'm a big country. I'm a very rich country. I actually have the resources which you need, and I get to dictate, and you don't get to tell us. So he's young. There's no rush. Eventually, this will be the way. What I will say is that the dollar is not going to be this global standard for
no,
everything across the board. 5-10 years from now, it's going to start. There will be other currencies that rise. What I can also see is that like say India, Brazil, if they do their trade, I just see an increase in that, and they are not using the US dollar for that
No.
at all. It doesn't help them to do that.
no,
So
no, I definitely don't see the U.S. dollar lasting another like 5-10 years. The only question is,
Paul,
what does
Paul
become
says,
of
don't forget South Africa, Iran. He also says the petrodollaris is history, and it could also turn into Brixus.
I don't know what BRICS is. What you mean, Saudi Arabia with the other BRICS countries? Is that what he means?
Yes,
Yes.
South Africa is the other BRICS country. Don't
Yeah.
forget about them.
Right.
Yeah, they have a long way to go. They have the resources. I mean, when you look at the whole continent, I mean, you can't forget about Africa either. But they are not the change makers. I think the other BRIC countries currently they're dictating the narrative and the direction in the direction that the BRICS are going to go. I think 5-10 years from now we'll see South Africa get involved, and will we see other countries join? Saudi Arabia joining this group will be a total game changer, and that might happen.
That would definitely throw a wrench into in the
Oh yeah.
in the other landscape for sure. But what I don't understand. You know what's so weird about South Africa? It's like a hodgepodge of like 10 different cultures in one.
Yes.
Like think about it. It's got like the British, it's got the Dutch, but it's also got the Zulu, and it's also got our culture in there as
Has
well.
a lot of Indians. In fact, a lot of the wealthiest South Africans, and in Kenya, and all of these African countries are Indians.
Millions.
It's crazy.
Millions of us are there. That's why it's crazy.
And doing very well, so interesting.
Right. I mean, that's just nuts. Just like how a place that was supposed to be about apartheid and all that stuff is just such a once upon a time is just such a hodgepodge of everything.
They say demography is destiny. That is so true. And I think Americans, when I speak to them, they don't know what the statement means. They don't get it. They don't realize that the world, the way it's moving, is not what they imagine to be. It is going totally in the other direction, where very soon, the non-West or the non-white even it already is the majority, but it will be the majority by even a bigger margin. I mean, people don't realize that. I think, is it 60% of the world is not West or NATO?
No.
80% of the world economy is again not the West.
No.
It's the rest of the world, and as they grow in power and prosperity, it's going to be a very different world. And I think people are, the one thing that I think everybody's underestimating, and this is something that I talk about a lot, and I should really make this my main talking point, is China's population is in decline, as with many of the other economies. The only population that is young and in its ascension is India. So they are not stopping anytime soon. So in the next 20, 30 years, they're going to have an enormous increase, to the point where they will be probably I mean, the gap between India and the rest of the world, I think, would be very enormous. And you can't help but basically see a huge presence of Indians everywhere. You just can't ignore that.
Yeah, we'll be the new Chinese people, I suppose. And
Paul
But in a
also
good way,
says,
because people don't trust China. They will trust India. We have the language advantage. We are young. We are not rogue. It's very in India. I think brings a very different energy to this geopolitical musical chairs. It's very different. Yeah,
it does. And there was a time period where, like, even 20 years ago, Hindi was the third most popular language that was spoken.
it still is. It
So
just overtook.
I'm saying it's probably going up.
Oh yes, you're right. Well, it just overtook Spanish, which is huge. There'll be a time when it'll probably be Mandarin and Hindi, the two most spoken languages on the planet.
Yeah. Well,
Paul
in that
also
case, I
says
definitely-
the Indians usually were the quote unquote trade class in the African states, South Africa, Kenya, etc.
True. They were the small business kings, and they did very well that way. So when they got out and left and went to other places like America and the UK, they continued that. So there are a lot of entrepreneurs who sort of just set up companies and stuff and did very well. They just had that mind, I think, for business and trade. So yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, no matter what, all we think about, now us as like individuals, but in general, our people, it's always about economy, jobs, trade, education, school, work, economy, jobs, trade. It's never about like any of the other theatrics, so to speak. It's never about any of the other pop culture stuff, so to speak.
But
Whereas
it will increase, I think. I think and it has to with RRR and stuff like. It's just a small taste of things to come. But Indian culture is so incredible. I don't think that the world has seen it and
No.
appreciates it. And also, it's their fault. They don't really showcase. They're not marketing their culture, soft power to the world to the level that they could. I think it's starting now. We're really starting to take over in the pop culture, music, film, literature, all that.
Well, I
whole,
mean, some of it's taken over, but I think some of the other stuff, when it comes to like the movie industries, they kind of have to like shape up, or else they'll be replaced with some other stuff that's much better.
Well, Tollywood is going to take over Bollywood. Actually,
oh, Jesus.
I don't
no,
see.
but it's better. The quality is so much better.
Well, I mean, Bollywood is kind of like stuck in the 80s in a sense. I mean, if you, and I'm not trying to be mean. It really, I mean, just the way that the musicals and the weird, just I don't know. It's kind of like
Hollywood's no better than Bollywood when it comes to that. I mean, Jesus.
Well,
see
yeah,
those ads all the time, and I'm like, dude, why the hell is 90-year-old Chiranjeevi doing dancing with women like 70 years younger than him? What the fuck is this?
Here's what happened to Bollywood. It was great until the early 2000s, and then what happened? They started aping the West. They started trying too hard to be Hollywood, and they lost their soul, and now it's all awful. I haven't seen a Bollywood movie for over a decade, and I am
me
not
neither.
So it used to be incredible. It used to be, and the black and white era, the classical Bollywood movies, the reach that they had globally, the admiration, the effect, the quality. Oh my God, it was another level. I mean, even Hollywood wouldn't compare the black and white stuff.
I mean,
but
no, they had.
Now they lost their edge. That's why Tollywood is still. It hasn't sold its soul. It's still very cultural and regional, and their effects, and there's many interesting things that they do well, right?
I mean, there's definitely more creative things. There's definitely more creative minds in the Tollywood industry. Yeah. That being said, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they fell under the same way Bollywood did too, because from what I've noticed, they fall into the same traps as well. But as for Bollywood, I mean, the reason they fell apart is in the early 2000s when, to piggyback off your point, emulating them, when they started emulating America too much, it got to the point where they would start making these ridiculous
stories.
Not just stories, But like ridiculous. I mean, don't get me wrong. The acting in the old days. I mean, the guy has like one gun and he fires like 60 bullets without reloading. I mean, come
Yeah.
on. But like,
But it got to a whole, and also it was like you look at them and you're like, is this Indian or are these people trying to be white? I mean, what is going
Look,
on? And I
right.
didn't like
I will say this though, some of the music videos are the most epic things I have ever
Oh,
seen in my entire life.
It's
No, that is
phenomenal. I
true.
still watch the music videos all the time, and the Bhangra is the best. I watch it the 80s, 90s, all up until the 2000s. It's only the last sort of 15 years or 10 years that
Yeah.
I haven't liked what I saw. I thought they were
Right.
ghetto. And
Like, I remember like years ago watching this movie called Race in theaters.
yes,
And I was
remember.
like slump, and I was like, okay, the movie's okay. It's kind of basic. It's like a wannabe Fast and Furious. And
Yeah,
the guy
but-
behind me is like, said, "Can you move your head? It's the back." So I had to like watch the whole movie like this. And I thought, okay, yeah, the movie was fine. And then I find out it's a fucking franchise. That
Oh, yeah.
mediocre ass movie was a franchise. It was a rip off of Fast and
I love the music videos because some of them have the most absurd, just out of the craziest
the
scenarios in them, and it's just like these epic, horrifying CGI things in some of them and stuff like that. It is just
Jesus
you have to-
amazing that
you
somebody
like it
said.
because of that,
You have to
Scott.
Well,
be-
yeah, I
that's
mean,
not
it's just
true.
well-
The really good songs are, you can't compare. Hollywood cannot compare with the music, the singing,
look.
the clothes, the lighting.
Well, they stopped comparing after the
production
40s.
One of my favorite bands is actually Bloody Wood, so I can't say really much.
Oh my God. Why would such a good...
Yeah, there's some really incredible. I mean, I'm proud. I'm like, this is what they can produce. It looks like $1 million. It's fabulous, you know.
Right.
But I just don't. And you know, there's a lot going on. The dirty side of Bollywood has
Yeah,
come out
like,
recently with the drugs and the.
that'll be its own live stream. I have
Yeah.
so many. There are so many tales of the Bollywood. I can't wait to like release one of these days. Like, so you
Now
guys
it's
think
as
Hollywood?
ghetto as it's become as ghetto as Hollywood, basically.
Oh, it's even worse somehow, some way. It's even worse. Like if I told you some of the secrets I was told about it, you'd be like, "What?"
That's when you can tell an international woman has been in the country for too long, when she starts picking up, modern day language like that's really ghetto. Like
that. So that's what you picked up off the conversation. Scott. I'm so glad.
I know
I'm
people
so
don't
glad.
expect they don't expect me to say those or.
I'm so glad Scott said that. I'm so glad that's you're such a stereotype sometimes, Scott.
You,
I can't help it.
you
I'm
don't
a
wanna
white
hear-
guy.
if
What do you
hear me
expect?
Swear, you'll be like,
Clearly.
say that. Damn.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to steer it off into the unknown there
No,
for a
I
second.
mean,
No, I'm
that's-
very good for shock value because
Yeah,
people
yes,
see
yes.
me, they expect something, they don't know what I sound like, they don't really know how I speak or think or my mannerisms, and eventually they're like, oh wow, this is like that.
I mean, you're one of the only Indian people I've been around where I could be like, Gandhi's a fucking rapist, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, we know the truth. You know,
Right.
I think those stories are always going to be internal because it's too incriminating for the world, because they won't understand the context. We understand the context
Of
when
course.
we say these things, and we need. It's important that we know the truth, and that's fine. But I think the problem is if we tell the world what we know, they won't comprehend it in the
No.
way we mean it, and in fact it'll have the opposite effect, and there will be so much demonization. You know, you don't want that. Right now the PR brand Gandhi is the best brand. He's got the best branding on the planet, I think, in history. Right?
The guy who basically sold our country out as
And
great
it's
branding.
just, I always tell my Indian friends, the patriots, the nationalists, keep it that way. Keep it that way. The day that falls.
Why though?
No, because
It's
he's
a
upheld.
positive image.
It's such
the
a
country.
Why would we
positive-
want to keep a positive image on like our Gujarati Benedict
But
Arnold?
that's the thing. Is what
No,
she's saying
but
is
they-
it's internal. Nobody outside of India really knows that. So
yeah, and in fact, most Indians themselves don't know that
Of course they
because
don't.
India is associated with Gandhi. So I mean, even I give a lot of talks, right? I throw Gandhi quotes on there, and I'll be like, I come from the land of Gandhi. You know, this is
You know,
and all this stuff. You gotta use it. It's all narrative.
I mean,
It's there. It's gold. Use it
every
because use it for your benefit. And
I
diplomats,
also,
yeah.
that's like kicking me in the testicles when you tell me
I
that.
think
'Cause-
one day somebody, I don't know who, somebody should write a book on the truth. It should be anonymous, so we don't know who the author is, and it should be published. And the real truth,
There you go, Harsh.
truth of the freedom movement should be published. And I think heads will turn. And
It's just
Wow.
sad that so many. It's speaking of the freedom move. It's just sad that so many actual heroes get buried
that
in history.
that hurts me, because you can uphold him as
it's
such
the
this great
same.
being. That's fine, but Bose and the
Bose and Vivekananda.
It's the
all
same
of
thing
them, they
here,
need
though.
the world needs to know about the
Right.
real freedom fighters.
They
that I
do.
agree.
They're not. I mean, that's the thing I hate. And then it's like, one, I hate that, and then two, it's like, this guy This guy was a narc for the British Raj, and our fucking diaspora has to hold him in a positive light. Fuck that.
I mean, it happens here. I mean, we have movements now
Yeah.
where people are trying to erase history. You know,
That's true.
that's the equivalent of saying, okay, we want to be stupid again. We want to repeat the same mistakes because you erased
Right.
the whole inkling of it happening the first time.
Right.
That
And-
stuff
and-
needs
and-
to
and if-
stay where it is. It needs
Right,
to
to
be taught.
piggyback off that point, a lot of cultures, not just our culture, has that issue. I mean, you talk to black people when it comes to MLK and versus Malcolm X, you just want to bring those names up, and then you want to get the fuck out of that conversation. They'll go at it.
And they have I think other than Hitler, I think the German, you'd find very few Germans who would be all for supporting him today. Other than him, he's a figure that is beyond defense, I think.
Right.
But other than him, every other group, country, race, they do uphold their national. I mean, look, Churchill, right? Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
Churchill was a freaking genocidal maniac, and people in Britain, they love him.
That's right.
And then look at Russia with what Stalin did. Stalin and Lenin did. And, they look at him as like the leader of the golden era of the
Or
USSR. Mao, and, how he helped reshape China into a global power. And you're like, no, but whatever.
No,
That's
what
true.
reshaped China into a global power was all of these idiots here that thought by getting
Kissinger
free
and Nixon,
labor
they-
and sent all of our tech there for them to reverse engineer it. That's what made China a power.
No, that you're correct about. That's why I did the quotes for the.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with the shaping from
With
Russia
them.
or anything
Yeah.
like that. China
Right,
would
so
not
that's-
be what it is today if it would not be for the Western Hemisphere sending every piece of technology over there in order for them to produce it for us.
Right. No, that is so true in so many ways. Because if it wasn't for the West and their love for globalization, you wouldn't have the issues you have with right now. But that being said, China's got its own economic crisis with the.
Oh my God, they are sinking. It's a sinking ship right now, and they know it. We know it. Everybody knows it. At least all the experts can see the writing on the wall. It's like this is a train wreck waiting to happen. I think India should be there to pick up all the pieces, because they are going to be a lot of pieces there. I just hope that, because the focus sadly should be on them, and it's diverted. It's on this ridiculous conflict that we have, and suddenly the Cold War 2.0 or 3.0, as I like to say it, really is the U.S. China. Rather, sadly, it's U.S. Russia, which is a non-starter as far as I'm concerned.
And then recently we had that balloon fly over that got shot down. I mean, this is like the most ridiculous thing. And then the next day, right after it, they're like, well, Donald Trump had stuff fly over in his administration and didn't know about it while he was in office. Well, then, okay, well, if he didn't know about it, who cares?
Right.
I
You know-
don't believe that there was balloons, Chinese spy balloons when
No.
Trump was. How? Because we would have seen it. Hello, they're big. They're big ass.
I
Yeah,
don't
this one
even
was
think
not
these were
small. You
Chinese
could see
spy
it from the
balloons.
ground with no binoculars.
But hang
mean-
on, China claimed it. They don't claim stuff that's not there. So
Yeah, but what you're telling me, the Chinese government, if they want to spy on the population, is going to send balloons over flyover
But
country?
hold on. In all fairness, look who our
Yes.
president is.
True. Well, that's why they did it because
Because they
they, could get
knew
away
they
with
would
it.
get away with it.
And they
In
did.
And they
flyover
did.
country?
They
That would be
did.
like if
They got
that
away
would be
with
like
it.
if
They
Pakistan
got away with it.
They got away with
on
it, Harsh.
flyover
This thing-
country.
this
that would
thing-
be like
hold
if
on,
the
hold on.
Pakistani.
Wait.
So
They
even though
literally
it got
let it
shot-
fly across the entire country and did not do anything about it until it got off of the coast of South Carolina.
And then it
Why?
fell into the ocean and nobody knows. I don't think there's a black box that was retrieved or can be retrieved. I don't know what the deal is,
I don't-
but
I
don't even know
but here's the
black box.
thing: if it had any type, it was navigational. They kept turning it while it was over the United States. It's like, okay, this thing is changing course constantly.
I mean,
So you know they got all of the information they wanted by the time it got off of the coast. I mean,
right,
it's
but
like
I'm just
really.
saying, this was over flyover nation. This would be like if the Chinese, if like the Pakistanis or something started
the
sending
balloon.
drones over like Machlipatam or something like that.
But
Like
not
really?
even drones, but like really, I think this was a very low tech, low energy act. It was like it was low level.
It
you
was
know.
basically
I mean, there's
China literally
There's
going,
low level,
hey,
and then
hey,
there's
look
this.
at this. Look what we're going to do to you, and you're not going to do a damn thing about it.
Yeah.
And that is exactly the outcome they got.
I
There
mean,
may be more balloons. Trust me, they will. I don't think there'll be other balloons, but there will be other such things.
That would be like that would be like the Afghanistanis flying a drone over Goa.
Yeah,
Over all the major cities in the country. They would fly it over fucking Goa.
but it.
Like, come on.
I mean, come on now. The Chinese did this
I do believe
intentionally.
It
I
was
mean,
them, though. I do
look-
believe it was them. I don't think it was any
I mean,
other.
if it was them, that just tells me amateur hour definitely exists in the
Look-
Chinese military.
look, hold
that's
on,
for
hold
sure.
on. I mean, think about it. 2 weeks ago, this man had tons of classified documents in his garage and didn't even know what the hell was in them. Like, how do you even take something like that home and not even know what the hell you have? Okay,
we know
he
that
had
we
all of
know
that going
yeah.
on. Dementia Joe's in full swing now at this point, and then a freaking Chinese surveillance balloon flies over the entire country, and he waits to shoot it down until it leaves the country.
I mean, Dementia Joe is Dementia Joe, so that should explain everything. But I just find it hard to believe that the Chinese are going to send a spy balloon and fly it over the least populated areas in the entire country.
No, it
But
flew
it
over
went
several
through the
military
country, and
bases
that's
too.
where it left there. But it did what it had to do. It scanned the strategic places that it had to do, right? So it was a success.
I think the only thing they flew over that was anything close to like a populace was probably Kansas City. It was probably Kansas City.
Well, we know
I
it
think
didn't
it
fly
did
over
what it-
Utah because Utah doesn't exist.
Right, exactly. Didn't fly over you.
Utah is a government hoax.
Yeah, that's a false flag. That's a hoax.
I
That's
think it's like a dick move, you know. China just made a dick move, like, hey, this is what we're gonna do.
I
It was
mean,
it was
that's
purely intentional to just show
to rattle
how
us,
big
I
of a
think.
set of nuts
More
they have.
distractions too.
well, I mean, they can do that any time by hacking the U.S. military database.
Well,
They did that a
They
decade
already
ago.
have.
Right.
You know, their infiltration is so deep and so good. They know everything about this country
Right.
and this government, and it's very easy for them to do what they need to do, which is a scary bit, you know.
Right. I'm
I
going
mean-
to say if that was the Chinese military, then it was probably like one of their lowest level operatives that was in charge of that. He was like, we fight over wherever. We don't go major city. You know, because I got to believe it was
It's-
someone with any sort of like tactfulness or intelligence. They're
I bet-
setting those damn balloons up over like Chicago,
Bruh,
New York, Los
look,
Angeles,
no,
San Francisco.
they were watching
Miami.
videos of that thing on TikTok over there in China and laughing their asses off. And like, look at these dumbasses over here. They don't even give a shit. We're just taking pictures of every fucking thing over there. To hell with them.
was over a bunch of flyover states. Why would we? I mean, if it was like a real, if they would have sent a real message, they would have covered it over all our major cities, not over
It doesn't matter. The idea is that they still did it. They still
Yeah,
did
but
it. They still were able to navigate it while it was over the land. So I mean, it could have went anywhere they wanted it to.
Right, but
And
I'm just saying
the
there's a
United
difference
States
between
didn't do shit about it until it got out of the country.
right. Well, one, they can't do shit to the Chinese when it comes to that or the hacking, and because that's been established. And two, if they really wanted to send a message, that balloon would have been hovering over like New York City, Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and DC.
I'm just saying, it
over
still sent a
Topeka,
message.
Kansas, and
So if
Idaho.
It still sent a
No,
message.
if that balloon was in DC, the thing is that would be an escalation. That would
Right.
be
What would
war-
stop them from escalating it at this point? They've already shown that they can, that their spies can just get drunk with Nancy Pelosi for 40 years. They've
True.
already shown they could hack the military. Like, what
No, they can't,
what
but
other thing could they do?
the government has these red lines, and that red line was not crossed.
Not like they would do anything if they did cross the red line. I mean, like I said.
This is just a starter, though. There's more to come. You wait until
All right.
election,
All right.
and what
Okay, so
unfolds.
when I'm in the city next week and I see a balloon hovering over the Sears Tower, then I'm going to be like, yep, Preity called it. There you go.
I'm going to
So
send
we
off
should,
a
by the way,
balloon
I
to
think
hover over the Sears Tower just to mess with Harsh.
Hey, that'd be fun, provided you could actually pull that off.
I'm
Scott.
going to get the Donald Trump balloon from the UK.
So I think both of you would agree that the future of the world, of the free world, really rests on this U.S. election, on who wins. I mean, it's already going down, but it could really explode. So it's very important that we get the right leadership for the future of this country, or else, I mean, God help us all, right? So.
Well, I mean,
But
we've had two of probably the worst presidencies back to back so far. I mean, I've seen some bad presidents. I mean, George W. was probably the biggest bumbling moron we've had in office in a long time. And then here comes Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
Well, I mean, some would say Obama was worse than Trump.
I
wouldn't say he was more diplomatic than Trump.
No,
Very
but his
much so
policies
more
were
diplomatic.
I mean, there are millions of people out there that be like, well, I made more money under the Trump administration than the Obama administration. And, and day-to-day living was cheaper under Trump.
Yeah.
Than
and
Biden.
foreign
So
policy is excellent.
Well, and it's the problem is it's true. What Trump did, I don't like the man personally at all. I think
I don't like any of these people personally.
I mean, I think he should have had his lips super glued shut as soon as he became president. But really and truthfully, he ran the country as a business, and that's what we really need in order to succeed.
Well, I mean, technically,
America
the U.S.
is for sale. Remember, America is a business. They do operate like that is the structure.
Well,
so
but he actually ran it that way instead of a governmental
legally
bank.
speaking, it's a corporation ever since 1871.
Right.
So,
right. But the thing is they've been running it as a governmental piggy bank for all of these years, and he was the only one that really kind of came in and was like, you know what, we're going to run it like the actual corporation that it is. And prices were lower. Inflation wasn't through the roof. Even during COVID, it wasn't as bad as it is now.
I mean, there's people who got more checks under COVID checks under Trump than they did under Biden. So, I mean, that would tell you all I need to know. First, like I said, I don't really care for any of these politicians. I know who they serve. I know how this goes. I know the song and dance. And no, it's not a Bollywood video I want to emulate. It's not good.
So let me ask both of you, who do you think is going to run in 2024? Do you think it's going to be the Republicans that win? And if so, will it be Trump or DeSantis? Will both run, or will one of them?
Trump still has a very ridiculously large following.
Yes.
For some reason, it seems like, and I really hate to say it because I live in the South, but most of the Southern Republicans or conservatives are going to lean more towards Trump than anybody else. So if DeSantis actually gets the nomination, I'll be surprised. You know, I
I
have a
mean,
feeling that if Trump doesn't go to prison for some reason between now and the primaries, he'll more than likely get the nomination.
I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on that because on one hand, Trump still has a large following, but on the other hand, there's a lot of former Trump supporters that might flock to DeSantis based on how much he became, how much he became enamored with Fauci. Because there's a lot of former Trump supporters that are going to DeSantis because they liked how DeSantis handled the shutdown better than how Trump handled it. So I don't know. That's a coin flip. That's really a
I
coin
think
flip on their side. Like,
it comes down to will DeSantis run? Because if
oh,
he
this,
does, he's young. He has a huge, long career ahead of him. So if he sits this one out, Trump will be the sure, the clear nominee and probably the winner. You
right?
know,
Which
now if they both run, they split the vote. It's really
But
now, and they won't be going on the same ticket either. Now that's an unbeatable ticket, I think. But that will never happen.
no, I don't think DeSantis or Trump are interested in being a VP for either one or anyone in general.
Which
But I
is a
think with
shame.
this, I think with DeSantis's issue is, does he play well outside of Florida, and how much do Floridians want? How much do Floridians want to elevate him or keep him? Because there could be people in Florida that love DeSantis as a governor and vote against him in the primary just because they want to keep him as governor. But then on the other hand, with the Trump stuff, it's like, well, if you've got Mike Lindell challenging DeSantis's election results, that's going to turn off a lot of people in his base too. So it's like that's going to be a coin flip, pretty much of how those two play out. Whereas like
and I think Nikki Haley is trying for a VP spot with whoever is in the lead. Like I think she's fluid. She'll go wherever whoever's winning. Like I can see her cozying up to Trump, cozying up to DeSantis or whatever, and I think she'd actually be a good VP.
I think whoever gets the nomination, she'll be the VP for them. It doesn't matter who. But I don't know if she has. Like I think Haley's got some power, but I don't know if she has enough to sway like people from Trump or DeSantis. Because if there's anything I've learned about right wing politics, it's usually not people. It's usually not foreign UN like administrators.
When they're not looking for women either, and I think in her case,
well, I mean, it could be women, just not someone like her.
She's not the right woman, but she is not. She will not compare. She does not compare with them in terms of their popularity or anything like that for the P spot, right? For the big job, but for the VP, like over Pence, absolutely.
Well, I mean, Pence is kind of. I mean, Pence is just weird.
Those are slim pickings.
That's not saying much.
I mean, we have to look at the lesser of two evils in a sense here, because I mean, Harris was even quoted recently as wanting to give everyone in the U.S. a nice yellow school bus for some weird reason. So
I'm so ashamed that like now that Preity Upala's on, I'm so ashamed that Harris has any Indian blood in her whatsoever.
I know.
Like why can't she be like Nepalese or something, or Burmese? Like why can't she be like Sri Lankan? Why does she have to be Indian?
Well, she's half Indian, remember, and she doesn't own that Indian side until it comes to getting donors. That's the only time she's like, "Oh, I'm Indian." That's it. The rest of the time,
but why does she have to be like half Indian and half Jamaican? That's like those are two great cultures, and she has to be a slap in the face to both of them. Like, come on, why can't you be like half Trinidad, like like half like Guyana and then half like Burmese? Then at that point, I'd be like, okay,
at least she does have some type of heritage. Unlike some of the ex-Congress women that claim to be people of color, and they were whiter than me.
My goodness. My God, we're already at that time of the day. Jesus Christ.
Well, it's the truth.
No. What about the Democratic side? Who do you think is looking? I mean, Biden said he's going to run, but
I don't think Biden's surviving at the next. He's definitely not surviving this year. I don't even think he's surviving this month. Well, I thought he was going to be gone by now, but I definitely don't see him in March.
I really think
for somebody who's 84 or whatever at that time. By that time, to run. I mean, what does that say about us if we are even entertaining the idea?
I have
Wow.
a feeling he's going to stick it out, and he's going to try to run for re-election.
No,
He
I
And
is
don't
we're
think
going
the
to see.
Democrats will
Hold
allow
on,
him
hold
to
on,
run
hold
again.
on. This is
No.
what's going to happen. He's going to lose because we're going to see the absolute greatest gaffes and faux pas
Yeah.
with speeches in history.
I don't think the Democrats are going to allow that. They're not going to allow that to happen.
They
He'll
think
be the
he's still
incumbent.
incredibly
They'll either have to
popular.
kill him
No.
off. They'll have to either kill him off or have him declared incompetent.
They will have no problem doing either one of those things. I'm telling you, they're not going to allow him to run again. It'll either be I used to call Kamala Harris Hindu Hillary, but now I don't want her anywhere near our culture.
She won't be running. She's too unpopular, so it won't be her.
Right, but it'll probably be Michelle Obama.
You know what?
Oh,
and she is very
Jesus.
popular. I don't know if she wants to jump into politics. So
I hope not. I hope not, because
yeah, because by the way, she is so popular. She could take on Trump.
I mean,
she could.
the
but
Obamas already trying to be like the Clintons. I mean, they might as well just get this stuff out of the way, too, right?
I hope it won't be Hillary.
that would be hilarious.
No.
Wow, that would be the
No,
It
the
would
only
be.
way it's
joke
Hillary
of
is
the
if she's
year.
a VP and Michelle Obama gets assassinated after she wins.
Wow.
Then she'll be president. The only way I see her,
we're living in Twilight Zone. You know,
the only way she becomes president in the next decade is if whoever the hell's
Harsh.
president is.
Stop trying to turn this into an episode of The Simpsons with these weird
yeah, I mean,
predictions.
it'll be a clown show. I might have to leave the country because it's so embarrassing. You know,
Right,
I'm
telling you,
going.
this is
I'm going
probably
wherever
what's gonna
y'all
happen.
go. I don't even care
I'm
at
packing
that
my
point.
bags if that
Right, I'm telling you, the minute Biden resigns, don't be surprised if Kamala Harris swears in Hillary Clinton as VP, and the next thing you know,
by the way, someone from the squad, I don't know this election or the future. They're eyeing that. I mean, AOC.
I don't know. I
they
think AOC
want-
wants to be.
I
think she wants to
can't-
be the Puerto Rican Pelosi. I don't think she wants to be president.
Well, even being AOC, I don't think has enough IQ in order to run.
No,
Well-
but when has that stopped anybody?
Right, and two, she doesn't need IQ to be
She doesn't
Puerto
need
Rican
IQ, she
Pelosi.
needs popularity, which she is popular. So yeah.
Right. All AOC has to do is just follow Mama Pelosi, Grandmama
She's a
Pelosi
VP
for another
material.
decade, and that's
Now,
it.
She's VP material, as in from her aspiration.
I don't think she wants VP. I don't think she wants VP or president. She wants.
I agree with you. I think she's good. She's actually not interested. But DNC could. I mean, Ilhan Omar. I mean, wow.
I could see them picking Omar or Tlaib as a VP than AOC, because AOC wants to be Pelosi. She wants to be Speaker of the House for 30 years.
And now Pelosi herself, I hope she's not gonna be going for any role.
No, she just wants McCarthy's job back. She wants her old job back. That's
so Newsom is going to be definitely. He's going to put his hat in the ring. He's very popular. I'm sorry to say that he is very. It's very easy for the DNC establishment to elevate him and prop him up as this great game changer. They can run with that.
If they want him to leave California, they'll definitely prop him up as a candidate in 2024.
I think he's running. I mean, they even said Garcetti will, but Garcetti is not nearly as popular. Newsom is more, wow. I don't think he stands a chance against Trump, but he could be the nominee. So don't count him out.
You know what's the thing I've realized about politics? The minute you stop taking them seriously and start taking it like, sports entertainment or wrestling or like a Hollywood or Bollywood movie, you're just like, yeah, this is more entertaining to talk about. Like, once you realize it doesn't matter, it's more entertaining.
There are some. I speak to a lot of people who deal with the Indian American politicians in Congress, and there's a couple that are interested. I don't think they have mass appeal. I don't think they will. They won't be the nominee for either position. But I think we'll see a big. We'll see plenty of people though in the debates stage. So you may be surprised. I mean, Mark Rubin might be interested. He seems very
Who,
very.
Dave Rubin
No. What's
or
his name?
Marco Rubio?
Yeah. No, not Rubio maybe, but the other one, the
Ted
billionaire.
Cruz.
No, the one who owns the Dallas
Jerry
Cowboys.
Jones.
No, the other one, the
Mark
Mark
Cuban.
Cuban. Sorry, Mark Cuban.
I don't think Cuban's gonna be running for office anytime soon. I don't think he has any incentive.
I mean, these people wanted to prop up Joe Rogan. That's not a good idea. He does not have political experience or even aspirations, I think.
I don't think he has aspirations. I know. I don't think but what's the weird part is the people who'd actually be good for office do not want to be, are people who want nothing to do with the office. And the people who want to run for office.
Maybe Chris Cuomo might be interested.
Jesus Christ. No, but I remember seeing a post of yours about how you said like a Joe Rogan podcast with trying to think of that one Canadian guy, Jordan Peterson, about karma was like the blind leading the blind. And that's so true.
Honestly, because they don't know what the F they're talking about. Right. They are looking at it from a completely different lens. And Joe Rogan, the problem with him is I think he talks about the wrong topics with the wrong guests sometimes. I mean, speaking to Jordan about karma is that's not where the truth is at. Get Sadhguru to talk about karma, right?
Right. There's too many Caucasian New Agers that like try to bastardize our religion. And it's just gross. I mean, they're so gross.
This is something very close to me. It bothers. So in the beginning, like 10 years ago when I moved here, I would see it. It was a joke. It was funny. And today, 10 years later, I think it's dangerous. I find it offensive. I don't like it.
Well, they're culture vultures. That's what they are. I call them culture vulture Karens.
I don't like it. And the problem is there's enough white folks that will follow them. That's the bit that scares me. It's not them saying that they know what they're talking about. It's the sheep are willing to follow them instead of looking towards source.
Right.
Or the origin.
And the worst part is they'll follow them. They won't even follow them for the right reasons. They'll just follow them like, she's pretty and she says some interesting things. It's like,
or they have with Jordan Peterson and some of these other folks, it's more like it's just a cult. They're all posses, right? They just, anything he says, they're like 1,000% there. They don't even question it. They don't know about other thought leaders out there. It's really dangerous, I think
it's gross. It's gross. It's vile. Like, I'm so tired of these culture vulture Karens talking about the kundalinis and the chakras as if they even know how to pronounce the fucking words. It's chakras. It's kundalini and chakras. You fucking Beckies. You basic fucking Beckies. Go drive off a cliff.
So there are different types. We see this more. So there's a group that tries to sort of scratch the surface with this sort of new age stuff and pretend that there's some guru now, but and then on the right side, I would say there's this other group which doesn't give any credence to ancient philosophy and our civilization and our civilizational history and all. They would look down on you. They'll be like, yoga, oh, that's BS, and meditation, pranayama, or I mean, for them, philosophy starts with the Greeks. Those are the types that don't even know world history. So between the two of them, we get bastardized either way.
Right, but at least the bastardization from their side is okay. They want to be fucking retards. They want to spiritually stunt themselves. They want to fuck themselves over. Well, then, they're just going to be idiots that fuck themselves over in the end anyway, so I really don't care about them.
People don't know much about. They're very uneducated, uninformed about the world. But this other group, it's worse because it's insidious.
Exactly. There's the other side. At least they understand their ignorance. Whereas these assholes, they think they're experts and they try to lecture you on shit, and you're like, oh, hell no. That you just like, oh, this ain't gonna fucking work. I mean, the whole thing is just.
I have to say, the beauty about karma and about the truth is the truth does triumph. Time heals everything.
Right.
These people are falling off, right? I mean, people are starting to not take them seriously, and I think they're dissing themselves, and because they don't have that karmic grace anyway. They can't do it for forever, and or they get bored, or they leave it, or they go find something else to bastardize. And eventually we are left with the Sadgurus of the world and the
Yeah.
actual truth, right? Or people like me talking about tantra or sexuality or prana.
Right.
That's where it should be. So we are seeing that. So I have faith in time, and yeah.
No, yeah, that's true. We need to have that.
But how much?
Honestly,
But sorry, how much of this is also our fault? Because
a lot
we are
of
not
it
vocal.
is.
Most of, actually, all of it is our fault, because it doesn't matter what they're doing. What matters is that we should push back. We should
Right.
shut them down. We should call them out, and even go to the. I mean, I hate the whole identity politics and victimhood, but this is one area where we could say, I find that quite racist,
I know
and
it
that's quite
is.
bigoted, and that is
It
actually,
is.
you're offending
Right.
a billion people
There's
when you
many.
do.
Right. And as Scott and I can tell you, there's many live streamers in certain truth communities that are culture vultures. And we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But speaking of things that should be our fault, how come the Indian diaspora is so like, I don't know, how come so many like ABCD NRI types are just so basic and they don't
They're
really know anything?
They're
Like
docile. They don't know. I think
even the religious ones, all they know is that don't eat meat, don't eat anything but chicken and turkey and vegetables. Go to Bala Vihar, and we're gonna do our slokams, and we're not gonna do our snot. It's like, but they don't know anything about the cult. They don't know any real
I
stuff about
think
the
they
culture, the
don't
spirit, or
know.
anything.
They don't know much about the philosophy. They don't know much about
They
Indian
don't.
politics or history either. When you know about the politics and the history, it makes sense. They're just interested in doing well, making money, having a big house, and some of them do get into politics or the arts or whatever. But they're coming from, and also I think they're trying so hard to assimilate and fit in and to become this
Yeah, but
Americanized.
they're not even good at assimilating.
They're not even good, and the problem is that somebody needs to show them a mirror and say, "Dude, you're not white.
Right.
Stop trying to do this. Have pride in who you are and where you come from, because you come from an incredible sort of civilization. Right. Trust me, there's nothing like it out there.
But
you should
that
be
goes
so
back.
blessed,
Right, but that goes back to Bollywood, though. It's like all these idiots will have like Bollywood and cricket on their on their televisions.
Fan, so cricket I like.
I mean, I do too when the teams win, but otherwise I really don't care. But the difference is like, but that goes back to the Bollywood nonsense. They think like, oh well, we have it on Indian television all the time. So we're in our roots. Like, no, you're not. You're watching nonsense that doesn't matter. And the thing I hate is like, even when it comes to some of these sports fans, especially with cricket, it's like they'll watch any game match brainlessly. It's like, guys, there's a difference between test matches and tournaments. If you don't know the difference, then you've been hitting the head with a cricket ball one too many times.
Wait, cricket actually has real fans?
Surprisingly, yes.
Oh, wow. That's
billions,
Wow.
But I try not to talk too much about cricket because then it just
love cricket. I do a lot of sports analysis.
I know you work in the field, so you have to do a lot of it. I try not to do it because I don't want to be cussing out Australians all the time. So I kind of want to just leave that alone.
So I mean, I don't mind the Aussies. Well, the English is who I don't like, and I love whooping their ass, man. They get such
the English but the English are outside of like 1 year. The English are just terrible.
They have been terrible for a long time until recently.
I mean, they won in 19, but I mean, the way they won it was such a joke. I don't even count it. It was so stupid. It's like, come on, really? That's how you win your cup at your own home? That's pathetic.
No, that too, and also they won the recent T20 World Cup, which again India were favorites, but they choked in.
Kohli can't be on any. Kohli cannot be on a semifinal of any.
So I'm not a fan of his. No. So there you go. I get trolled a lot by Kohli fans. They're the most vicious fans on the planet, I think.
And it's like, yeah, sorry, your superstar, your hero's a choke artist. That's not how this...
So he, I have to say, recently he's been playing phenomenally, and this is good. And I hope he keeps it up, because it's a World Cup this year.
So the next time India goes to the semifinal, do you just tell him that it's like a test match?
Well, he is...
Like, is that what you have to do with him then? Like, is that what you have to do?
Well, Rohit Sharma, people really had a lot of faith in him, and he turned out to be a real disappointment. A big joke.
Well, I know, but at least like Rohit Sharma can put up some numbers in a semifinal. Virat Kohli's last three semifinals in a regular World Cup are 9, 1, and 1.
Yeah, no, he didn't do well. Only
That's-
recently he made a century. That was fabulous. It's time for the new. It's time
Right,
we have incredible youngsters who are playing so well. They
right,
need to get a chance. Yeah.
right. You can't have these old people anymore. But I mean, the whole thing is just so goofy. But it goes back to our. It's like, why is it that they know so much about like Bollywood and cricket, but not like any of the actual stuff? You
Yeah, they
know,
don't know anything about Indian history, Indian politics. They don't know anything about the religion.
right?
They know all this. I think also what I've seen is even younger Indian kids. It's like they're not proud of their identity. And when people ask them, "Hey, tell me about Diwali or Holi or this or that," they don't have any answers. They don't know what to say. They don't even know, and it's so they have nothing to say. So nobody gets to
No,
know about the story and the truth, and which is really sad
right.
because we have phenomenal stories. They have such meaning and such history,
I
you
mean,
know,
Diwali is supposed to be the festival of lights, and the holiday
and it's
before,
the best festival on the planet.
right, and the holiday before that's supposed to be the destruction
The
of the
Dashera,
yeah.
yeah.
That they're supposed to be the holiday, the destruction of the
Oh,
Rakshasas and
yeah,
all that.
the Ravana and stuff. So all
Right.
this beautiful stuff.
And
And
Holi is just, the spring where you just splatter color on each other. So.
yeah, so Hinduism, I think, is being effed up, down, sideways.
Now the question is, who is fucking up Hinduism more? Is it the foreigners or the people or our own people?
I think it's the Hindus themselves. I think
Yeah, I do too.
Hindus will ruin it. The only hope I have is that because the nature of Hinduism itself is eternal. It's
Yeah.
not going anywhere because it's been there since the very beginning. I think it's going to be there until the end of time because that's what it's about. It is the samsara, right? So
Right.
I don't have faith. I mean, I have a lot of faith that the faith will be there. It's just that it's getting assaulted from many different directions, and the worst is from two types of Hindus. One are these sort of foo-foo Hindus who don't know shit about
Yeah.
the ABCD types, but then the other on the extreme side, it's the trads, we call it. It's those regressive, retarded Hindus that are they. I mean, they are really back in the. They want to go back to the Stone Age. I think
Yeah.
they're. It's all very sexist. It's all uncles and their views on marriage and women and sexuality and wow,
I mean, a
they
lot. Right. Yeah,
not good.
it's a clusterfuck. And like I said, a lot of these idiots who are already traditionalists, they think just because they don't eat pork or they don't eat pork or they don't eat they don't eat
Well,
like
meat.
beef they think like, oh, that's good for their spirituality. But like that's not how that works. Like unless you're doing a fast every other week or some shit like that for the whole to be in touch with
Yeah.
our many different versions of God, then you're not really doing it dietary wise. You're not doing anything spiritually.
No, the dietary thing it's one element. There are many other elements. Like
Right.
just being a vegan doesn't mean you're going to attain moksha.
Exactly.
You got to do a whole lot more. But I will say, especially if you speak to ISKCON people, forget about moksha if you're not a vegetarian because it just the karma that comes from the consumption of killing a being and consuming it, the negative karma from that is it's almost irreversible. That's their view on it. It's a hard view, but I can see it. I can see
Right.
energetically how that would work. So
Right.
they will tell you, you have to do so much tapas to
Right. Yep. Right. And FYI to the people who don't eat me, who don't actually eat like beef and pork, but they eat a bunch of processed sugars. I hate to tell you this, but a lot of that fat came from animals. It came from
Yeah.
it came from the pit. It came from your gelatin. It came from your cow. It's all that animal fat. It's not. It's from the same animals you tend to
Yeah.
avoid. So if you're
You
eating
break it
processed
down.
snacks all the time,
you could look
you're
at it.
literally ingesting them without eating the good stuff.
Yeah. So they overcompensate also with the sweet stuff. It's a lot
Right,
of
that's the thing. If
sweets
you're
and
eating all,
sugar.
right, if they're eating all this processed crap that has a bunch of animal fat in it, then what are you doing? What are you saying? I don't eat meat. I don't eat steak. It's not good for me. It's not good for my religion, but I eat all the processed fats. I don't eat pork. It's not bad, but I eat gelatin. It's like, well, what the fuck? I mean, I hate to say this because I know how you feel about this, but
Yeah.
how
I
is
think
it in?
they view it like, I'm speaking specifically about, say, ISKCON or Hare Krishna, because they have more stringent views on this than your average Hindu. Like,
Right.
those guys are like, whoa. I mean, they don't even, I think they're almost vegan. They obviously, dairy is allowed. I think they
Right.
avoid egg, but they love their milk though. So it's
Right,
interesting.
which is really weird. But that's another thing I don't understand. It's like, in the Islamic religion, if you can't eat pork, you can't eat a pig. You can't eat pork. You can't eat any of its
Parts.
byproducts. Whereas in Hinduism, it's like you can't eat the cow, but you can but you can drink the milk, eat the cheese, eat its pus, you do whatever. It's just weird, just very weird.
I think it's the act of ending the life that, like, so they don't mind abusing it for milk,
Right,
but
exactly. Like, yeah, let's eat its pus, but we can't eat the steak. Come on.
because he's gonna die. It's not, I think the Hindu view of life and death is a little different from
I don't
how
want
other
to say it's basic, but I mean, letting animals starve to death isn't humane. Like, I'm sorry, it's just
no,
not
but
humane.
they die a natural death because they of old age. That's a given.
Right.
Happens, and yeah,
Right.
I think this, but with the beef, it's specific because India is an agricultural agrarian society.
Right.
The cow has been such a pivotal, role in society with what it gives to Indian people, has for thousands of years, right? So they look at it as it's like the ma, I just think that there's a reverence there that they don't have for chicken, and that's they just say that's disgusting. You don't kill animals to consume them. That's different. With the cow, the holy cow, it's there's a spiritual elevation there.
It's
Uh,
just weird. Like, if you can't eat the cow, you shouldn't be eating dairy. That's my thing.
Well, I agree with you there. Like,
That's what it should be.
be a
You
vegan
either
and don't abuse it for milk, because that's painful.
right. It's painful and and it looks gross. If you've actually seen what milk looks like when it's out of out of the
Or
udders,
the
it's
whole
gross.
the if you go to that where they do it,
It's
I mean, you're
gross.
sucking the life source out of these poor
Right.
animals.
It's just dishonest. It's not even like you either don't eat the cow at all, or just have a steak and pretend you're not. But don't do this back and forth
It's like
bullshit.
a half-ass, yeah.
It is. It's so half-assed. But then again, maybe that's like the history of half of the history of our culture.
I
Always talk
I
about
think there's a lot of half-assness going on.
right. You know, Then again, that's the history of our culture. It's like we always talked about how we need to come together and unite and stand up for ourselves and educate people on what's what. But at the
Yeah,
same time, our culture is mired by a bunch of city states being apathetic assholes to each other, to where we never really had any sort of unity in the
I
civilization.
think that the federal nature of the Indian uh, political system is what's very damaging.
Yeah,
I think in America it might work. In India, it's such a diverse place. It gets really antagonistic because the difference between India and the rest of the world is, in India, the opposition party, they are very happy to they want to demonize the government, and they don't care if it makes the country look bad. They just want to get the government in power out of power, and
right.
in order to do that, they will cut their nose to spite their face. Now that doesn't happen in America or any other democracy quite to the level that it can
No,
in. In Pakistan it happens too, but there
Well, I
Pakistan
mean,
is to level where they assassinate
yeah, I
the
mean that's
assassinate.
its
You don't know,
own thing. I
but
mean, in that
yeah,
country, in Pakistan, you could go from like a cricket hero to a
yeah.
political savior to a
But
guy they just offer up as a sacrifice to continue the system. So like
shot,
you
yeah.
can't even like Imran Khan basically is just like you always feel bad for the guy at this point. You're just like, wow, that hero worship really got you so far there, buddy.
Well, I hope he doesn't run because sadly, he does have a cult following. I don't know if it's
No,
enough.
they didn't save him from getting kicked out of office a year ago.
That's true.
That
I mean,
didn't save his ass.
we don't know if there was the Western hand that booted him out, or it was genuinely people were upset.
No, I
With
mean he didn't leave in a box. I mean, he didn't leave in a box. He gets to live his life, but
yeah,
whatever.
he I have to say, as a cricket lover, we used to see him as a superstar, and he was loved in India until he turned out to be this piece of work.
Yeah.
And I have respect for him, and it's so sad to see him descend into what he has become.
Yeah, I mean, in the and not before our time, obviously, because none of us are that old. But when we had when we had the Haranya hurricane, that he was Pakistan's answer to that, and Imran Khan. So I mean, people don't understand, and except he was a lot more international than
Yep.
Than our guy, because he was just more. Yeah, he had the appeal, and he had the
Oh,
appeal
he's
and the charisma.
hugely popular, not just in India and subcontinent,
No,
but
he was popular everywhere, like
so
back in
when
the day.
people make a list of the top, the best, the world team of the history, he's in there as one of the bowlers, or sometimes even captain.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved Captain Couple, but I
yeah,
mean, he was just ours, and that was it. It wasn't like
yeah. Imran Khan was a superstar. I don't.
yeah,
Kapil Dev was a hero for India, but
right.
Imran Khan was an international
He
superstar.
was. I mean, the only time we ever had an international superstar like that in cricket was when we had the Master Blaster himself.
Well, there's. I mean, Sachin, yes, but for me, of course, is Dhoni, because
Well,
and
Dhoni's
he's
after.
Dhoni's after,
Dhoni's
but
like
Dhoni,
well after the fact. I'm not talking
because
about
he
like
no, but the thing about Dhoni is he is, because of his captaincy, he is universally,
yeah.
they want a wicketkeeper captain. He is it.
Oh, he was it. I mean, I remembered when he first replaced VVX Lakshman. I'm like, are you sure this
Like,
is the
who is
right
this
move? And
guy,
the
man?
next thing you
On
know,
him.
the rest is history.
And he is, by the way, he is loved in Pakistan. They love Dhoni. They're obsessed with Dhoni.
Right.
You
Yeah, I
know,
mean
you
that's it.
get
Yeah,
a
that's
Pakistani guy, you start talking about Kashmir or politics, whatever, we'll be yelling at each other. You start talking about cricket, talk about MS Dhoni. Oh my God, they'll be like singing praises of him.
yeah. Dhoni was
Watch him.
he was a real one.
Yeah,
Even the Master Blaster himself. They were. I mean, that was it. That was like our
the
international.
icons. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they would always say about Super Sachin. Like you don't even call him by his real name. Like that's how great he was. Like you don't say
Master
Sachin
Blast
Tendulkar. No, you're like Super Sachin, Master Blaster.
or
The god of cricket.
whatever.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's what it was like. He was so great. Like people would just dance every time they got him out. They would literally start dancing. I'm talking like British people would start like running and dancing, and we know they have no rhythm at all. So,
Well, the IPL is coming up. This is going to be MS Dhoni's final IPL, and I hope
I thought he
for
retired.
no, he at 40, he is still the
Oh,
best
he
cricket
retired from
brain.
international. Never mind.
Yeah, but he still plays IPL, and he's still at 40. He's still the best captain in IPL history. And only 2 years ago, they won the championship. So it's his
Yeah.
final. I hope it'll be, if you want billions of people tuning in, you want to rig. I mean, they accuse this game of being like, rigging and match fixing. Well, fix this match, make sure they win, and you will have 4 billion
Oh my god.
do it. Just do it.
Oh my lord.
From that,
Right. Yeah, I remember one time when I was living in Hub Hyderabad back in the day. Everyone made such a big deal about the Deccan Chargers, and they
Oh,
won.
yeah. Well, they're gone now.
Yeah, they won. It's like they won the world. It's like they won the IPL in their second year. They flopped in their first year when they were supposed to win, but they won in their second year. And then 3 years later, the team has to be sold and disbanded because like the Deccan Chronicle was involved in
stuff.
so much like fraud and scam and everything else. And now you got like the Hyderabad Sun or whatever that they
The
are.
Sunrisers
The
Hyderabad.
Sunrisers. I don't know if they've won anything in the last decade.
No, they're a joke. Punjab and Hyderabad, sadly, they don't have good captains. Picked all the bad players, But Chennai, CSK,
Yes.
they're my favorite. They're my
CSK and CSK and
Mumbai. Those are
Mumbai. They're always the two best teams, like no matter what.
They're billion-dollar franchises, so there you go.
Yeah, that's what happens. Scott's like, I think Scott took a nap.
No, I'm still here. I'm just listening.
Do you like Indian? Let's talk about Indian food.
Yeah. What's your favorite Indian dish, Scott?
To be honest with you, I've never really eaten any Indian food.
Oh no, you would love if you like. Oh my god.
I'm being honest. I could lie. I mean, I hear people say curry is awesome and stuff, but we really don't have that many Indian restaurants around here.
Either go to a restaurant or do takeaway. Definitely get the breads, get the garlic naan, get some buttered chicken, and get a samosa. That's the easy stuff. I think if you like that, then you can get more spicier, more complex dishes,
I'm gonna have to check that out. We don't really have that many Indian establishments around here.
So where do you live? Where are you based?
Louisiana.
Oh, you would definitely. I don't know. I wonder if you have Indian restaurants over there in New York.
I'm sure
there's a few like scattered around and stuff like that. It's just there's not many, so it's not it's not like a.
I'm sure there's a few in New Orleans. Don't worry, Scott. When I come down there,
I mean, there's like Greek and Lebanese restaurants everywhere for some odd reason, and there's
I'll tell you what, Scott. When I'm
Mexican
down in
restaurants on every other corner.
I'll tell you what. When I'm down there, I'll cook you some Indian food. I'll cook you some curries and stuff.
All right, I'm game for that.
But hang on, do you live in New Orleans though?
No, ma'am. I live in Baton Rouge.
So New Orleans is one of my favorite cities in America. I think it's hands down one of the best.
Really?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Wow.
And
if
it's
you
the most
lived here,
city in America, I think.
No. If you lived here, you would not feel the same about New Orleans. I can promise you.
Because the culture is so diverse and so interesting.
I'll tell you what. Next Mardi Gras, we'll go. We'll hang out during.
Or the jazz festival or what. So I was there during. I've been there a few times, but I spent a New Year's there, which was phenomenal.
Well, New Year's is different.
I had the best food experience in America in New Orleans. I think they hands down the best food. I love soul food, so yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, I'll tell you what, we should all go to New Orleans for Mardi Gras one of these.
Go party, I'm down for that.
No, yeah. New Orleans.
Scott will be designated driver. Preity and I will just walk up and down Bourbon Street.
I understand you may have enjoyed New Orleans while you were here, but if you would have got away from that city, you would have enjoyed Louisiana a lot more. Really and truthfully.
Scott will be your tour guide if you're in the Baton Rouge area.
And the pralines, man, the pralines and the whiskey sauce.
Ironically enough, today was the very first day that my beautiful wife got to try a pecan praline.
Oh my god! Wow, so addictive.
She's never had one before in her life until today. She could only eat half of it. It was too sweet.
I was eating them like there's no tomorrow. Oh my god.
They're
I
addictive.
Love food, and I just love this soul food, jambalaya, gumbo, all the seafood, the breads. I like your breads. I like your breakfasts are interesting because your bread is interesting, So yeah.
Oh man! Speaking of a road trip, Max says, "Let's go." I call dibs on the radio.
Let's do
We're
it.
all planning a road trip apparently now.
When is Mardi Gras? I have never done Mardi Gras.
It's it's this month or next month or something.
Okay. I think it's like next week.
I don't know.
Next week or week after. Yeah,
I don't even
Mardi
care.
Gras. I haven't been to Mardi Gras in like 12 years, but geez, that was 13 years, but it was fun when I was there.
let's see.
I think what I remember was like hanging out with Willie Roaf's cousin
Wow.
the entire week, because I see this dude in a White Sox hat, wearing glasses, kind of mixed, mixed race or whatever, right? At least or light skin, whatever, right? And I'm just, dude, that's a nice hat. What's up, dude? You're from Chicago? No, I'm actually from Nashville. And then we're just walking and talking. Oh, my name's King. My name's Nice to meet you. So we're just walking up and down Bourbon Street, and then next thing you know, we're about to enter a club. It's like, yo, I think I know. Yo, follow my lead. One of my cousin used to play here. Who's your cousin's name? He's like Willie Roaf. I'm like, holy what? So it was just crazy. We were like going in and out of clubs like VIP cakes. Like
Mardi Gras Day is going to be February 21st.
Oh, it's coming up. Okay.
I mean, we were kings when we walked up and down the street that day. So that was awesome.
It's very easy to be a king in New Orleans.
Yeah, especially if you know people who know like Hall of Fame football players.
Or if you have money, I guess.
That too.
No, if you have money, you become a target.
Oh, uh-oh.
Trust me, the only people that like New Orleans are people that are not from New Orleans or people that don't live in Louisiana.
Wow. So tell me, your crime is LA is really dangerous and crime infested. How is New Orleans? Are there shootings? Is there robbery? All that stuff, or it's
yes,
safe?
No, it's by far not a safe area at all.
Wow.
It's
LA.
I mean, New Orleans is the only city I know of that had a building collapse, and it killed a worker, and his legs literally hung out the side of the building for 2 years before they finally tore it down.
Oh my God! So
I remember
governance is very bad.
Yeah.
Well, it's ran by Mayor Cantrell, who can't even wear a face mask right, and she's a very avid liberal Democrat. So,
oh, you poor guys, you got very bad leadership.
Right. Well, it says a lot, like a lot of areas of Chicago. Well, I mean, in Chicago, we just have like 3 major like roads you want to avoid.
So I think Chicago has got to be. I would say Chicago is New York is number 1, but I think Chicago is the number 2 best foodie city in America.
Yeah, we know how to cook food up here.
Number 3, I think, would be Las Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas is because everyone comes from all over to play.
They have great celebrity restaurants, but Dallas people say that they're. I don't think Dallas is in the top 5, but Miami might be 4th.
New Orleans is fine to visit during the day. I wouldn't really suggest hanging out at night unless you like don't leave a certain area. You don't want to be wandering around New Orleans at night.
The whole thing is just messy.
Yeah. Would you ever run for office?
Who?
Both of you?
No.
Why? Because you think that they'll dig up stuff from your past and cancel you, or?
No, I actually am probably one of the most public people you'll probably ever meet. I don't care, who has my info, whatever. They can all kiss my happy ass. I mean,
and as for me, I'm just too tired of it. I used to be a part of like numerous campaigns like a decade ago, and I'm just like, you know what? If I'm this fucking tired, just campaigning for somebody.
Yes.
Traveling, canvassing, I don't ever want to fucking run for office like this. And plus, all our elections are rigged anyway. So basically, if I lose, I'm real. And if I win, well, it's nice knowing all of you. Goodbye.
Almost ran for state representative next year. Almost.
Wow.
Who?
Me. You forgot?
Oh, yeah. You're thinking about running for Congress, weren't you?
Yeah. I was.
And what changed your mind?
I woke up one morning.
You were bothering me about that.
Sadly, this political system has become so toxic, the electoral system. So good people are scared because they know that they'll be canceled. That's the end of their.
I really don't.
They'll be a target.
You know what? My voice, my vocal cords are big enough to the point to where I really don't give a shit what someone has to say about me. So they can try, the only people that really get canceled are the people that actually care about being canceled.
Exactly.
and I could give a shit less whether you like me or not. You know, I mean, that's just how I am, though. I mean, I don't care whether you like me or not. If you like me, great. If you don't, great. I don't give a shit either way. That's on you. There's nothing to
Right.
do
I
with
mean,
me.
right. I mean, the whole cancel thing, you can't really worry about it because in politics, it's like, well, you don't need everyone to like you. If 49% of the people, quote unquote, cancel you, if the 51% love you, then that's all that matters. And only
Right.
your
Well, I
side can,
mean,
quote unquote, cancel you anyway. Gotta
and
hate quoting Trevor Noah, but that's
it's
the
the truth.
situation we're
I
in.
mean,
Yes,
But it
it's
is
the
the
truth.
truth. But I just don't want to run because I just want to deal with all that bullshit. And as our guy Justin Boris Phillips says, yes, you can't. Yes, you can't hide yourself if anything to do with campaigns and super PACs. Anonymous, my ass. LOL. Yeah, that's true. Because like once you run for office, you're not even yourself.
yeah. You're a product. You're a public entity now. People can take a stab at you. They can dig.
It's not about the people taking a stab at you or digging at you.
Yeah.
What it is about you having to grease palms that you don't want to grease. About you having to deal with people that you don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
That's the problem. If it was just about the opposition, fuck it, let's go. I don't care.
Actually, it's your own party, but also people like myself who are maybe more independent. It's tricky. It's like, well, am I going to run as an independent or a partyless?
Right.
Certainly not the Libertarian Party. I don't think that party speaks for me.
Right.
I have issues with both sides, so I have to. And being an Indian American is tricky because most Indian Americans vote Democrat, but they're increasingly there's a lot of disappointment with the DNC. There's a lot of people moving right, but then the minute you say you're moving right, you get demonized by your own community as well. There is also that.
Right, because see the problem with the Indian American community when it comes to politics, it's like they'll be like, we like lower taxes, but Fauci is correct. So that's why they're screwed. Because they're like, we like our lower taxes, but Fauci is not wrong. So that kind of fucks you over because like,
and they love Obama and they
right.
think the DNC.
Oh, the Clintons. Oh, the Clintons are like some of their. It's so gross. It's like
that's scary.
Even Biden are big fans of Biden too.
I don't know
even
anyone
more
in my
scary.
Family. No, I don't know anyone in my family finds it. But it was so weird because like in 2020, everyone in my family was like, actually, you have to vote for Trump. He's got to win. It's like, I don't believe in voting at this point. I still don't. But he's like, you have to vote for him or for lower taxes and And then when you talk about like some of the other issues, like, oh, that doesn't matter. Only thing that matters is corporate tax. Like, what? It's so weird. Like, basically, if they had it their way, they would vote for someone with like lower taxes, pro business, but like culturally was basically like an Obama or a Clinton or something.
They signed up for the Clinton and Obama brand. They signed up for that. They aligned themselves with that kind of leadership. So they're fixated about it. So if you sway from that, and if Trump or Tulsi Gabbard or whatever, or even the AOCs, they're not interested.
No, I don't think anyone outside of the 14th district of New York is interested in AOC. But as for that, it's so true because it's like they love him. They love like a lot of these people love Trump and his policies, Trump and his tax, business and economics. But here comes everything else. Like, oh my God, why can't he shut the fuck up?
Well, they also
that was my biggest thing with Trump.
This is with the Bay Area, the Bay Area Indians. They think that if they say that they're conservative or Republican, they're going to be shunned by their own community because the Bay Area and San Francisco and California and Indian Americans are very left, very democratic. You'll be an outsider in your own.
And I never did understand that whole narrative that they have of like just like making minorities gravitate to them because they make the biggest mockery out of these minorities.
They do.
And it's like, how in the world are these people in mass audiences just drawn to you and you're making fun of them?
And also, as far as India is concerned, I think on the one hand, Indians care a lot about their home country, right? They care about U.S. policy towards India, which they should. But then, which party is pro-India? Well, it's one is, one isn't. Like, it's not hard to figure out which one is which.
Right.
How can you keep voting for a sort of an establishment that really demonizes your sort of,
You know what I'm
back home?
starting to, you know what I'm starting to think? I'm starting to think a lot of these people secretly voted for Trump, but they just say like, "Oh no, we're leftist."
No, but 70% of them, I mean, they did the, no, they actually voted.
I don't know how true that poll is because people are not honest on those polls.
No, but it's not a poll. It's the final, like, Indian American, 70% of them end up voting for the DNC. It's always been like that.
I mean, it used to be a lot more, but
It used to
I
be
mean,
85, I think.
right.
Now it's come down a bit. Yeah.
But the thing is, some of these polls, as someone who used to actually work as a canvasser and a phone banker,
Polls I don't trust, but the final vote I do. And I think they've
I
had
don't know how true that is because there could, for all we know, 20%, a seventh or 2/7 of that final tally could have just been, well, yeah, we voted Democrat, and then really they voted Trump, the whole ballot.
I know way too many desis who are all Biden trained, all of them. All the Bay Area, the Silicon Valley, the rich and the famous desis are all there,
Right. Well, I mean, it depends where you're at because I know, like in the Midwest, it's a lot more swayed. But I know of people, I have relatives out on the West Coast. They talk about how great Reagan was, but they have no problem voting for anyone who the DNC brings up. It's just really weird. It's like I don't. But I mean,
they didn't turn out to be the swing vote that I think some people were hoping they would. Yeah.
Right, which I've never understood why the Indian community doesn't say, I mean, not that elections matter at all, but if we're going to pretend they matter, then why not just stay conservative since all you care about is lower taxes?
Because the DNC has been very successful in creating this narrative that they are the party for the minorities. And if you vote Republican, you're immediately just seen as a bigot and a racist or being in bed with the racists and the bigots. That's the narrative. And a lot of people have signed up for it. And again, in their own community, they don't
right,
they don't want to be shunned in their own communities.
Right, which is, well, first of all, you don't have to tell people who you vote for. And second of all, more importantly, people usually vote with their pocketbooks. Part of the reason why people
but India, trust me, I deal with a lot of these desis and they still, there is the people, the Indians in government in this country they're more on the left.
No, well, that is true, but I think some of that's because of the culture, some of it's because of 90s nostalgia. Because there were talks in the 2000s that if Bill Clinton ran for office again, he would have won because of how great the economy was when he was president, even though it wasn't even his own doing. And a lot of the stuff that happened during his presidency caused the collapse of 08. So that's like that's the messed up part about it.
I mean, he literally coasted through his entire presidency.
Well, he coasted through his entire presidency, repealed Glass-Steagall, and basically signed a bunch of free trade, trade agreements that screwed over the country and especially middle America. So that's why, Midwest America. So that's why a lot of it is a mirage. But then again, like you said before, Ms. Upala, that's how it.
And the right, I always tell them, they're not reaching out to the desis. There's so many Indian Americans that are disillusioned by the DNC after, like, today they're disillusioned. So they are easy votes for you. It's like a low-hanging fruit for the GOP if they wanted to pick that up. But they don't see them as a important minority group or a possible swing vote. They totally could be.
Right.
They're not reached out to, and they're not. And also, how many Indian American leaders are propped up on the right? On the left, totally, there's so many.
Right.
Most of them, right? So then they're like, well, where am I going to go? Where I'm welcome, or where people are going to probably use me, but they will prop me up in the process, so.
Which is really weird. But then again, that tells you what's wrong with the GOP as much as the Democrat.
Yeah. Yes.
The Democrats fling a bunch of bullshit at them when it comes to like pop culture and 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 whatever, and social nonsense. And then Republicans, instead of like appealing to their base or
Yes,
appealing to people who should be a part of their base when it comes to like like taxes and
apps.
other economic policies,
Asian,
they just
Asian are
right,
traditionally conservative,
right. Well, they spend so much time fighting a PC battle that doesn't
Yes,
really matter at the end. At the end of the day, people are going to vote with their pocketbooks more than anything else.
true.
And if they're not, and if they don't understand, and the winning side usually understands it. I mean, I know and have some idiots like, don't you know elections are rigged? Dude? Yeah, I do know that, but
I
I'm
mean,
speaking
people
at
do vote. People do vote. It's. I mean,
still.
and
Right.
also then you have this. Also, the problem with with the DNC, they're seen as the secular party, right? They're certainly not a Christian party. The problem with GOP is, you have a segment that is very much, hey, this party has a religious color to it, which is a fact. That's fine, but when you bring that out there, when that becomes your narrative, you push a lot of people away. Like
Right.
I don't. I mean, people are like, well, that's not for me then.
Right. I mean,
This is just part of a cycle. I mean, we really
Yeah.
had the same type of economy that Jimmy Carter produced for us
Mhm.
when he was in office. The next president hopefully will be like, and I hate to say it, and I'm probably going to get some shit for it, but like Ronald Reagan and his economics. I mean, you have to look at it from a business and money standpoint. You
right.
really can't look at the person's personal garbage unless it's just blatant disregard for the country.
Right.
I
That's how it's
mean,
supposed to be. And that's how it usually is at the end of the day when it comes to these selections.
right. But people still, oh, well, Reagan's Iran country here and blah, 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 blah. Still, the economy was one of the best economies we've had in a long time.
Yeah.
But
Under Trump, no matter what you thought of the man, regardless of how big of a jackass he was, every time he opened his mouth or he got on Twitter, it didn't matter. The man's economic policies actually helped this country.
right. And that's what that's what she's trying to say here when it comes to, well, they should be going for that instead of some of the other nonsense. And that's what
For
I'm
me,
saying.
I think the most important is foreign policy. And again, the GOP, their foreign policy, especially in this current climate and crisis, would have been the more measured one. And instead of supporting and prolonging this little situation, they would have pulled back. In the end, helping the whole thing to come to a ceasefire, or you have to take a step back. This is, don't do this proxy war situation, which
And
is
that's
was it's
exactly
just
what they're doing.
It is. It's a 9-year war, but
Yeah.
they've been doing this.
This is
Well,
Russia's
it's Cold
Vietnam.
War. It's a continuation of Cold War. It's Cold War 3.0.
Yes, that it is.
And I hate to say it, but I highly doubt Putin is even worried about the United States right now at this point.
Of course not. I mean,
it's
all the. No, we're saying before I go on some.
Well, no, I
tangents.
mean he's just sitting there, looking at it like this is a fucking joke. I don't even care. I'm gonna do what I want to do. To hell with the United States.
And Xi is, he's the net benefactor of this crisis. Is China? They are the net winner from this whole conflict.
Yeah. And it's so funny. Everyone talks about how like they're not trading with Russia and businesses are being pulled out of Russia and social media is banned. I'm just looking at this from the outside. I'm just thinking, wait a second. So Russia is improving their society just because they attacked one country? Jesus Christ.
No,
Wow.
the sanctions have worked out quite nicely for them.
Yeah,
Their
exactly.
economy is doing better now post-conflict than it was before. And the U.S. is their growth isn't even 1%, I think. It's point something, 0.8 or 1.4.
The GDP
ridiculous.
did not reach 1% this year. I mean, last fiscal year.
Yeah. That is very sad. And this is not going to end, by the way. I know people think, oh, finally there's going to be a ceasefire at some point. No, there won't. This is going to go on for years, unfortunately. Now, 2024, if we have a change in government, things will change. I definitely see that happening. So it comes down to leadership. because that new government will have its own foreign policy. Remember, Trump was talking about pulling the US out of NATO. Had he done that, this conflict wouldn't have happened
No,
because he wouldn't have the American support, you know?
no. I mean, had he done that, he probably wouldn't have been able to leave office on his own accord.
And now because they shot this balloon down too late, China's now saying, okay, well, the next time we see any type of surveillance vehicle in our airspace, we're just going to shoot it down too.
And by the way, the US, they're not innocent. They are also they're spying as well on.
Yeah.
Well, obviously,
I don't think they're as good as China, but they got their own entrenchment.
Right, but at least normally these countries are discreet about it. They weren't even discreet. They were just like, "Hey, look, we're gonna go fuck yourselves. Watch this."
Right. I mean, it's sort of low level. A Chinese operative threw a balloon across the.
And yeah, we didn't bite. So.
Right. Yeah,
I'm kind of like harsh. I'm just picturing this one little Chinese guy in like some military office somewhere with this little joystick and a computer screen in front of him, laughing his ass off at this fucking balloon just flying all over the place over the United States.
Exactly. I mean, the balloon flew over places nobody wanted to visit.
They could have just painted like a giant troll face on the side of the balloon.
It really is. Like I said, this would have been like someone flying a balloon over, trying to spy on the Indian, spying on India by flying over Goa or Pune instead of Mumbai. That's what this would have been. If this balloon was in India instead of America, it would have been them like flying a balloon over like Machilipatnam or Goa.
Well, maybe it was going over those remote rural areas to report back to Bengali for the next wave of scammers to call, people to call. Hey, look, these look like idiots. We're going to sell this information to the Bengalis. They can start making scam calls over there.
You mean the Bangladeshis?
Bangladeshis. Don't say Bengali. Bengali. Yeah. Those are Indians, yeah.
Yeah, Bengalis are Indians. Bangladeshis are people who used to be Indians.
That's another
same
country.
thing.
Right.
I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, Bangladesh.
Pakistan broke into two when it ended up being Bangladesh. They're two rogue states,
Right. It's kind of weird. I always considered Pakistan as like what used to be Punjab and Bangladesh what used to be Bengal.
But actually it was East Pakistan, West Pakistan.
Right, for about 25 years, yes.
Yeah.
And then
but imagine, isn't it amazing that they broke into two? Well, we broke them into two, but imagine if Pakistan would have been on the either side of India. And by the way, whose genius idea was it? How can you divide a country into two like that? That doesn't make sense.
Well, they did it with...
You could blame Jinnah and you could blame
Germany
Jinnah
for the longest time.
I mean, Palestine is like that, right? It's on either side of
Israel. Germany was the same way at one point. For over 50 years.
But there wasn't a country in between, though. It wasn't like it was East Germany, West Germany wasn't in between Poland, though. Poland wasn't in between.
Well, technically, America's like that. You got Alaska on one side of the Canadian border and the continental U.S. on the southern part of the Canadian border.
But Canada isn't a hostile adversary. No. It's not a state, right? This is like, whoa.
I mean, when it comes to hockey, they are. But
I just pictured Canada being hostile, and that's going to
Jesus Christ, you're taking all our good players. When are you going to get them back? We're going to have to do an embargo on hockey pucks if you keep doing that to us.
I think of the Terrence and Phillip thing. I'm not your friend guy. Okay, buddy. I'm not your buddy guy. I'm not your guy, buddy.
Oh my God.
Wow.
But that is true though. You never see that with the hostile country, but that is what it is. So
well, I mean, we're in between. Mexico's in between us and Hawaii, and that's kind of hostile.
But Mexico is an I don't know if they're an ally to the U.S., but they're not an enemy state, though. Right?
I don't know. Hostile state, with all the drug cartels and stuff.
I don't know if the government's
cartels, not the people, and certainly not the state,
Right. I mean, the cartels are hostile, but someone said the cartels run the state, so who knows? But
I don't know. I was actually absolutely amazed recently when I found out there was a Mexican Navy. I really
I
just
didn't
want
know
to go
that.
down there. I want to go down there and see at least one of their battleships. Just one.
Really?
Ah.
I remember they were working with the Germans back in World War One, trying to overtake the U.S. and World War II, trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, well, that worked out real well for them, didn't it?
Yeah, no, right. And it said there's so many like not U.S. Not Nazi submarines in the Gulf. That's
Oh
in the
yeah.
Gulf of Mexico. That's still that might have lots of treasures in them, or just might have a lot of spy equipment in them. Who knows? Not lots, but at least a decent amount.
Wait, I mean,
You know,
who really
another
and
thing
truthfully wants to
people-
spy on Louisiana of all places to spy on?
Well, I mean, think about it. If they're going to fly a balloon over Louisiana, why not have a submarine out there?
Well, I mean,
Gotta eat-
the part of most of the nation's petrochemical industry is down here, so I mean,
Right.
Wow.
It's someone's got to spy on Scott Jr. when you move.
it won't be me.
But, people talk about Chinese military. Yeah, sure. It's they are a nuclear power. They do have a huge, big ass military, navy, air force, but that they have not been tested militarily since the 60s. So, they also, I mean, they're not stupid. They don't want to go to war. That's going to be very damaging and detrimental to them. And they don't have some great history of victories. And
Right.
even when they're doing at the border, they're not winning.
I can
Well, I mean, they don't
actually
have that-
see them almost acting like the Iraqi National Guard or Imperial Guard or whatever the hell that was. You know, on these
Yes.
thousands of troops, as soon as they saw the American troops cross the border, they took off running. That's what I foresee with a lot of the Chinese military.
Well, their problem is encroachment, territorial encroachment. They are occupying territories that are not legally theirs, and they're able to do it because they just extend, and that other country isn't strong enough to, and they've done it, and then they make a deal with the government there, and then those governments are corrupt, like Nepal, and
Right.
the bad thing is, of course, the annexation and all of that.
Right.
But Nepal and Sri Lanka were dangerous because they got into bed with the Chinese, and not good.
Well, it hasn't been good for them. No, I mean Sri Lanka based their economy's like gone because of that.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just China just reminds me like a bigger version of North Korea.
It's
Just-
a big bully.
Well, except their tech is right. You can't say the same about the North Koreans.
Well, no, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously not. I mean,
No.
these people have been trying to build an intercontinental ballistic missile for the last 70 years.
Wow.
I mean,
they can't get that right. But the Chinese, it's like they don't need to wage like an actual warfare because one technical warfare, they can hack the U.S. military anytime they want or fly a balloon.
Biowarfare. Hello.
Biowarfare, technical warfare, biowarfare, economic warfare, to where you
cyber
they own
warfare.
almost
Right.
50% of the land of Australia now at this point.
Yep. So they're actually genius in terms of, I think they call it asymmetrical warfare, right? These
Right.
are unconventional. They are the masters at this. Russia does it too. U.S. does it in its own way,
Right.
but China is like very successful with how far they've gotten because people don't see it coming.
No.
The difference between India and China is China plays the long game.
Yeah,
They're
they do.
30 years ahead. India is living for today. I think it's living yesterday. They really need to have a strategic vision of where they want to be in 50 years, and they don't think like that.
They do. You're right about that. And what people don't realize, I think we touched about on the last time we did a show together on the old IMN network, is I think you brought up something along the lines of like it's what the Chinese are doing in Africa is no different than what the colonizers did back in the day. It's colonization. Like they're literally colonizing the entire continent.
They're exploiting resources. It's extraction. It's exactly the same thing. But obviously, no one wants to call it that because it's politically incorrect to say that. Although that's exactly what they're doing, and probably worse because they're not leaving. They're certainly not giving, helping those African countries with language skills
not at all.
Well,
but,
I mean,
nobody's benefiting at all.
It's
They're
technically
enslaving
the
them, they're
same
putting them in
thing.
debt.
Technically, the exact same thing the English did whenever they stepped foot in this great country.
Yeah, the difference is though the British didn't leave them in debt and enslaved
True.
at this level.
And
Not at
even
that
with
level.
India, we got infrastructure,
Right.
institutions, democracy. There's a list of things, cricket, that we can
Yeah.
take away. And today we are masters of that, and it's an asset today.
Yeah, we have twice as many World Cups as the British, and we have a better economy than they do. But
That's
you
true.
know, but as for what they're doing, what the Chinese are doing in Africa, it's a lot worse because
Yeah.
they're depleting the resources, they're putting them in debt, they're doing all this other stuff, and you're just like, yeah, it's just. I mean, they're just enslaving the entire. I mean, this is all I need to know about how much the Chinese have dominated economically. A sitting U.S. president was kicked out of a hotel in New York City because the U.S. hadn't paid their debt to China. Like one of the companies hadn't paid a debt to China in regards to.
Wow.
I mean, that's insane.
Who was the sitting prime minister? Not Biden.
No, president. It was during the Obama era.
Oh wow. Ouch.
I mean that's nuts. Like a
Yeah, you
sitting
can't
U.S.
have that kind
president.
of power. Yeah.
Right. But that just tells you like how much of a middle finger it is.
Well, nobody likes China. They fear them. I think they respect them. And that's what you don't need to be liked in this game. You just need to be feared. And beyond anything, you need to be respected and seen as an actual power.
You don't need to be liked.
They
if you're
don't have that respect yet. They have the fear, but they're still working on the respect.
Yeah, but they don't need the to be liked or respect if you're controlling every other country's economy. You don't need that
Well, I mean,
stuff if you're trying to like make nice. You don't need it if
Nobody
you're already.
fears the West today. Today, it's not feared, it's not liked, it's not respected.
Oh, Western Europe's a hellhole. They're gonna like.
They're worse. They're a lot worse. They have no idea the hole that they're in. Yeah.
Oh, they're gonna implode. Their government.
Like we have hope. America can turn around. They cannot.
Well, I mean, one, there's like hope, and two, at least like people have like their land and their space.
People are waking up. Yeah.
Right. Whereas in Europe, it's like they're on the verge. That whole whole Eurozone's on the verge of collapse.
And it's so tight and congested, and you have all sort of nefarious actors there, and these people don't get along. They hate each other. Economically, it's so lopsided. It's very unbalanced. I'm surprised the euro is still up and running. I mean, I thought it'd be dead by now. Maybe
I thought so too.
I think 5-10 years it won't exist.
No,
these countries will break free.
The only European countries that might exist are the Eastern ones.
Well, they'll be their own. The Eastern Bloc. They've always been there. They've always protected. See, the ex-Soviet Union countries. Sure, they're part of EU now, I guess, but I mean, in character and governance and political system and mentality, they're not West Europe. They're very
not at all.
No.
And Western Europeans don't even look at them like that.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, throughout history, they've always looked at them as Slav. That's why they got the name Slavic. It came from the French term slave.
This is true.
Right.
And there is like, okay, they're part of NATO, some of them, but not really.
No.
They're not anti-Russia.
No. And the UN law, and there's not a coincidence that they joined the USSR as like satellite states or allies in after 17 to 92, because one, they got along with them better, and two, they helped them out more, and three, according to the UN bylaws, the Russia has every legal right to annex to reunite the USSR.
Wow. See, well, that's why the whole Crimea and now Ukraine situation. Right. Yeah.
They have every legal right to do that according to the UN. Now, that being said, the UN is a very sketchy organization, so I don't know how much that means, but.
So is that in the Russian constitution? It is clear. It says that.
I think it's according to one of the UN bylaws. I'd have to talk to.
Also, there's the Minsk agreement. There is an agreement that said that Ukraine cannot extend west, right?
Ukraine cannot join.
Cannot west. Ukraine cannot join. So that was
Ukraine
broken.
Cannot join NATO. I'm gonna look this up for sure, but
it's broken, and that's why this. Now it is an act of war that they took. They retaliated against something that was broken, but if you never broke it, this would have never happened. I think that's the bit that people forget. They think this came out of nowhere. No, it didn't come out of nowhere. You crossed the line, and everybody had agreed, and for decades they had agreed that this would be honored. It was honored all this time up until February of last year. So Americans need to read up on the history of that region, because they don't to know what unfolded there.
Right. That's
So,
true.
do you think Putin is aspiring to be the next premier of Russia?
He is the premier of Russia.
Well, I mean, like actually going, like reverting back to like a communist state again.
I don't
They
know.
are a communist state.
I don't think they'd.
That's a political system, right? Yeah.
Well,
Well, no,
think
that's
they'd ever
that's what
go
I mean. They were a communist country at one point with the
well, they're
USSR.
supposed to be, but
Well,
I mean,
socialist.
they're I mean, whether you want to call it communist or socialist, that is their political. They have their Duma, they have their Congress, whatever, but that's just superficial stuff. The way that their state operates is very much socialist / communist marked,
dictator,
and also big state.
Yeah.
It's the same. I don't think they ever stopped being that.
No.
Now, you are broke away. They balkanized into different little countries. That's a different story. I don't think they'll ever get back together. I don't think USSR will ever be a thing, because I think some of these countries wouldn't want that. Most of them wouldn't want that. They're happy being sovereign.
I don't think they're ever going to get back to a communist society, because there's too many there's too many I'm trying to think of the word, and there's too many billionaires, and there's too many people in Russia that became billionaires that will allow that to happen. I don't know if it's like not the Bolsheviks or the proletariat. Anyway, but at the same time, I'm trying to think of the Russian word for it. But that being said, they're definitely going to have a structure where it is like a USSR-esque, but it won't be like socialism, because they're not socialist. And the only thing what the people feel about socialism is like, yeah, it was socialism for everyone else, but for the Politburo, they were basically the czars of the throughout the 20th century.
And the billionaires too. So, I mean, they don't have a free market economy the way the US does. The political systems are very different. They have
oligarchs. That was the word. Russian oligarchs.
Yeah. But that happens in a communist state. You will have a majority of the people will be the poor masses, the poor workers, and then the politicians, and then you get these oligarchs. That's very much a product of that communist / socialist. You get the feudal lords.
Part of it was that, but in the 90s, that's when you really had the craziness, because that's when Boris Yeltsin took over right after the collapse. That's when it was basically a free for all. It's like if you wanted to be, if you wanted it hard enough, you became an oligarch. If you seized enough power, you became an oligarch. If you were good with the Russian mob, you got to do what you wanted. So and then in a way with Putin, he's kind of like their stability that they felt during the USSR during this. So in a way, if he did decide to become like the Russian premier or dictator for life or whatever, most people in that country be like, well, it beats the 90s. It was better than under Uncle Boris.
He's also getting older, and there's a lot of reports out there that he's not in the best of health. There are things that don't come out in the news, but he's having his own health issues. He probably knows that he hasn't got another 20 years or whatever. I think it's there's some years left for him. I think he understands that. So he's not going to be around forever. He'll do his bit, give it another 5 years. And then but the next guy who comes, I mean, that's I just think that this Cold War obsession on the part of the US is also the problem that keeps pushing and prolonging this. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think Putin has 2 daughters that we know of. So I don't know how they're going to transfer the power in that country once he passes away.
Well, it won't go down. It's not a monarchy, right? There'll be.
Not
I mean,
yet,
he has opposition leaders. He has opposition leaders. Like, look, say he retires or passes away from his party. there's a deputy. There are other leaders and also opposition
I
leaders are too.
mean, the last opposition leader I knew of was killed was
No,
killed
I know, but
months
what I'm
ago.
saying is will be somebody that he approves. Like
Right.
there are people who are there to take his place. He's just a symbol of you know what they want to be in the world. Look, they are a great power. They're a re-emerging superpower. People write them off and they say, "Oh, it's that Russian revolution, Russian civilization, Russian empire is kaput." No, it's not. It's not going
No,
anywhere.
no, this is not the
They're,
1990s.
they are too big. They're actually too powerful. They're a nuclear power. They have natural resources like nobody's business.
Right.
Only downside I see with them is that their per capita income is very low. That is it. It's
Right.
lower than India, so that's the only thing. Now, if that had tripled, you're talking about a whole different ball game.
It
And
might triple in the next decade because they're not, they're not doing any. Like they're basically become isolationists now, so they could. And that's the whole thing. It's like with Russia, like people feel it real. It's like this is in 1993 or 2003. This is 2023. They're a lot stronger than they were back in those days.
oh yeah,
Like people don't realize this. This isn't like the 1990s where the Russian mob does everything they want, or the early 2000s where Putin is figuring out if he should listen to Bill Clinton and join NATO. No, this is a new era. This is a new
I
era,
mean
and they're
that has
better
got to
off.
be that has got to be the dumbest foreign policy move. NATO was set up to be anti-USSR. Why the hell, in what situation would Russia join an anti-Russia club?
Well,
I mean,
the crazy thing is in the year 2000, when Slick Willie was about to leave, according to Vladimir Putin, he was offered to join NATO.
mhm.
He offered, hey, you want to be part of NATO? You want to be part of us now that it's over? And of course, they declined because
Yeah, duh.
right. But I mean, the whole thing is just crazy.
I mean, who would offer that? That's like saying this is an anti-India club. Do you want to join? And they're going to India and saying, "Do you want to join the anti-India club?" Why would I join a club that wants to destroy me?
Right.
Doesn't make sense. I mean, it's people don't realize what NATO is.
No.
It's basically a
I
group that was set up to counter Russia. Hello.
Right. I think at that time though, I think what they were trying to bank on was the fact that Russia was such a mess in the 90s that maybe NATO was going to stabilize
streamline
them.
everything. It will stabilize the
Right.
whole. And luckily they didn't fall for it. I
Right.
mean, from their perspective, it's bad for us because as long as NATO is there, you have this huge adversary, and you can't have that. I mean, US
Yeah.
needs to. I think you need to disband NATO. NATO, you can't have these, and you can't have these clubs that are anti big powers out there. If you want to do that, why don't you do that against actual rogue states? Like why don't you have a NATO that's anti-China? That would make the world a state. Well, that's what the Quad
that
is.
would definitely collapse a few economies. But I mean,
That's what,
NATO itself is so hypocritical. I mean,
yeah.
it's a group of colonizers telling people not to be colonizers.
And also Turkey. How the hell did a rogue state like Turkey join? Turkey is so close to Russia. I mean, they're not going to turn on Russia anytime soon. I mean, they get along quite well.
I think Turkey joins NATO just so they can keep tabs on on their anti Erdogan people in Pennsylvania.
And also Turkey is joining them just to be safe, because
right.
Or else they'll be in the Russian bloc if they don't join NATO. So that was a smart move for them, and NATO is dumb enough to induct them. I think they're the mole here.
Right. Well, I mean, they didn't have a choice, because think about how often Turkey used to have a coup. Do that their history. It's like they almost had one like 7 years ago, when supposedly some like anti-Erdogan operative named Gulen was somehow leading like a coup against Erdogan from eastern Pennsylvania. The whole thing was just ridiculous, but apparently it almost happened. I don't know though.
So I wonder what would happen if something happened to Xi. say something happened tomorrow, he doesn't exist in this world anymore. I mean, it would be great for the rest of the world, I guess. But are we going to just get a continuation of their of their regime?
I
Or
don't even know if he's alive. I don't even know if he's even alive or not.
no, she's alive. Come on.
I mean, for all we know, he could be like in a glass box for like the
No,
last 5 years,
no, he's there
and
in
they're
all
still
the,
continuing on.
Like
no, he's
Joseph
there in
Stalin.
all no,
Yeah.
he met the prime minister, like he met Modi in person, like he meets
When?
these people at the global summit. So he's a real guy.
When was the last time he met somebody?
Not that long ago. Xi exists. Trust me.
Okay, he's still alive. It wasn't like a
He's
body
alive.
double or anything. He's
a healthy guy. He's not going anywhere soon. He's hale and hearty. In good spirit.
I mean, obviously, I was halfway joking about that. But that being said, it's like the way that country, as a giant version of North Korea, like Scott said, them and the North Koreans, when it comes to their world leaders, they're so secretive about their health. We don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, Kim Jong-un died, apparently, and magically came back to life and was back in his chair the next week.
Right.
It's like,
That's what I'm saying. They said the same stuff about Xi Jinping about 6 months ago, and somehow everything's A-okay.
He looks pretty healthy. I don't think he has any health issues that we know of.
Right, but then again, when you're that powerful, you can get spare body parts and spare organs.
And that's secretive too. Don't forget
All right, our guy Joe Logan says, I don't know what they would do with that balloon. I mean, China has satellites that can see everything on the Earth, even down on the Earth, just like most satellites. See, that's the thing, though. That's my point. It's like that balloon just seems more like a victim.
It was just a dick move. It was just like, bite me.
Yeah, that's why I said they should have had like the big troll meme face on the side of the balloon.
The Trump blimp.
I mean, they should have just set up every satellite in every major city, and then they could have just given us the middle finger with more,
No, but that would be major escalation where they would get major retaliation.
This
was too benign to do anything. They're very smart.
I mean, yeah, but again, they hacked the U.S. military database, and no one even cared. And we're just like, no, they didn't do fuck all.
Yeah, I guess.
So I don't know where this whole major escalation thing comes from when it's like, well, they already taunted us before, and they did absolutely nothing to.
Really and truthfully, when they hacked the military databases, the public really didn't respond in that weird of a manner like they should have, in my opinion.
Yeah, which is scary, right?
But if something like that, like if they were to start flying these damn things over populated cities and everything where people could see them, that would have definitely made a public outcry, and the military would have had to do something.
You would think that, but we kind of live in a zombie nation.
Yeah. Well, 9/11 happened and nothing's been done about that. I mean, in fact they gave billions to the very people that trained these terrorists.
Right. Yeah, there you go. I mean, let me read some of these. Russia and Ukraine have been fighting for years, but no one noticed until the MSM started talking about it. Well, yeah, that's true. They've been fighting since 2014, when you had a bunch of neo-Nazis overthrow a democratically elected pro-Russia government for the fascists that they have, for the Nazi supporters that they have now, and even Zelensky was supposed to be a pro-Russia guy, and he got turned inside out because they got their own, the Azov battalion are basically the new brown shirts when it comes to that region. And that's what it's like. I mean, it's basically Hitler versus Stalin all over again.
Yeah, and it's also it's just beyond 2014 even. This is a civilizational conflict as well. Kiev used to be such a important city in the USSR. They call it, that's their cradle of civilization.
It's called Kiev and Rus. Right, it's called Kiev and Rus, not Kiev and Ukraine.
So it's like, wow. So Russia would view that as I guess in a way that how we would view Kashmir, that's an
Oh,
Indian. Well,
Jesus.
Kashmir is Indian, but you know, all of Kashmir.
MH3, there was what what was the NH370? That was the bill that was passed to keep.
I think the funniest report about this whole Ukraine-Russian war was whenever Russia celebrated the fact that they gained control of Chernobyl. It's like, really? So you got a nuclear wasteland? Congratulations.
Yeah, that's one piece of land you don't want access to. You want to
No,
stay
I mean, they
as
were like,
far away from
we took over Chernobyl. Yay, us. It's like, okay, congratulations or something. I,
All right. Robert Walker says, I say China and the U.S. are secretly working together. I mean,
I disagree. I actually don't.
I wouldn't be surprised by that. I mean, at the end of the day, all these damn world leaders meet at Camp David for their secret, like, fucking
and
meetings
the
and shit. So it wouldn't
dumbest
surprise
thing,
But
me.
not
like we could literally kill China off tomorrow just by just shutting down all of their imports. Just done.
Right.
And I mean, it would like literally destroy the entire country within a matter of a day.
yeah, but the US would never do that. And also, forget about the USA. The rest of the world, uses China as the supply chain thing. So US can pull out, well, the rest of the world won't.
Right, but
This
I
is
mean,
what they're seeing.
you're looking at billions and billions and billions of lost revenue. That would be such I mean, it would literally throw them into a depression of some sorts
But
for a
COVID
while.
did that, and but these people,
Right.
that's a small price to pay for total. You have to understand how Xi thinks and how the CCP thinks, and then this stuff is just small potatoes. It doesn't matter in the big scheme of things. It's nothing.
Right.
It's a small price.
Right. Like, to piggyback off your point, the shutdown
Like COVID
almost
was a win for China in the end.
right.
They are on top, despite the fact that many of their own died. They're a net benefactor in this whole situation, which is so scary and dangerous, and the world doesn't see it.
Right. The closest thing that Scott's idea came to life was during the shutdown, when you couldn't even have products imported from China.
Yeah.
And yet, at the end of the day,
it didn't do anything, did it?
Right.
Everything is the same for the most part. Yeah.
Right. So that's why a lot of this just seems so scripted and staged.
Now, the internal implosion in China is that's a real concern.
They have their.
That's actually the world can't hurt them. They can destroy themselves from inside out, which is
their housing crisis. Yeah, what people feel is their housing crisis is so terrible that they're blowing up condos.
The divide that they have. Economy. Yeah, their economic divide, their class divide that's starting to open up looks worse than the opening of like the Grand Canyon. I mean, it
is
the middle class. The middle class is literally disappearing, and it's either rich or poverty stricken.
And most are poverty stricken, actually. Yeah,
it is. It is, and the crazy thing is, like, they're having their own economic crisis with the condos. Because you have the Chinese government blowing up condos because their people aren't making their payments. I mean, that's insane, but that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So like that collapse is starting right now. So like I said, the only thing that's consistent is that Russia's isolated and they're people like Bollywood movies for some reason. Like
no, it's not just Russia. All of the former Soviet Union states,
but to be fair,
but also beyond that. Middle East.
One of the biggest sellers in Russia is still the Adidas tracksuit, so you can't go by that. I mean, come on now.
It's a big market, but you know what's so weird though about that industry? It's like I just find it weird that one of my favorite movies of all time as a kid was made by an actor I cannot tolerate at all.
Which was the movie, and who is the actor?
Like, when I was a kid, I loved the movie Bazigar.
Oh, Shah Rukh Khan Bazigar. Okay,
I know, but he's become such a piece of shit. You're just like, what the fuck? But then
that Khan saga was
Yeah, but then it's like that whole industry is just trashy, so everyone has to be trashy, and that's just what it is.
There are certain bad actors within Bollywood, and they have nefarious connections with the
Right.
with the bad
Right,
guys.
well, yes. But that again, that's its own show for a different day. But I do find it funny though that like Shah Rukh Khan basically stopped learning how to act in like the early 90s.
And also now he's 60 and he's still acting like a 18-year-old kid, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it's like, dude, it's 2023, not 1993. Like, get with the times, buddy. Get with the times. But no,
You're 65. No one wants to see your fake six pack. You're old.
Fake
You're a
six-pack.
grandfather. You should be playing grandfathers at this stage.
no.
This is the part of Bollywood I hate, is very old actors trying to play young people. I don't like it.
It's just weird. But that goes back to what we were saying in the beginning. It's like all these industries are collapsing for that reason because they've run out of ideas. In the old days, they had their own ideas and they went with it. Now it's not. I mean, look at Hollywood. Hollywood's collapsing right now.
Yeah,
because they've run out of ideas. Like, look how many Spider-Man and X-Men and other.
Well, I mean, that's a
gonna be.
virtual gold mine.
Is the DC comic movies
Right.
and
The
big
Marvel,
franchise.
the
movies no
Marvel
one wants to see.
franchise is not going anywhere anytime soon because of
agree.
idiots like me that
Right, but
read
even
these
that's
comic books when we were
Yeah, but-
kids, and now the
yeah, but
movies are
even-
like, oh my god, that's
Right. But even that's going to only last after so long. I mean, nostalgia
But
doesn't
Top
last forever.
Go out of style. I love Top Gun. What a great movie.
No. I mean, I never watched
At
it.
least you didn't say Roadhouse.
I love Tom Cruise.
At least you didn't say Roadhouse.
Tom
I
Cruise.
didn't watch. I don't remember watching. I think I watched Top Gun as a kid. I don't really remember it.
It's a class. It is one of my. So the best movie of 2022, the best Hollywood movie was Top Gun 2, and then the best international movie was RRR. There you go.
And
So basically, the best movie of 2022 was a movie based off of a movie from 1986.
and that's one of my favorite pastimes now is like going back and watching these movies from the 80s just so I could point out how freaking ridiculous they were. Roadhouse is a prime example. Since when did they have these coolers that drove around from these dive bars to dive bars where these bar owners would pay them like thousands of dollars to straighten out local corruption and shit? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I thought The Last Starfighter when I was a kid was the best movie in the world, and then I watch it as an adult and go, oh my God, what the fuck was wrong with me?
Yeah.
It's
It's one of those things.
But the comedies from the 80s were way better than they are now.
I agree.
Well, yeah, because in those days, people could actually say and do what they wanted, and there was no real agenda outside of entertaining people.
Right. Porky's and Porky's Revenge were probably two of the greatest 80s movies of all times.
Where do you think the world goes in 10 years?
Well, that's a whole other episode. That's going to take another 3 hours because there's so much people are predicting different outcomes. I have my perspective on it. Ultimately, it will be a rebalancing, and it will be the good will win in the end. It will be a very natural, organic reshuffle for the better, actually. You just gotta be patient and hold out for the truth, I think.
Yeah, I will say one way or the other. What you see here today is not what you're going to see a decade from now.
Or even 5 years. 2030, it'll be a different world. 5 years, the world will be changing in so many ways.
So it definitely will. One way.
I think upside down, really. Yeah.
Hopefully, AI will have taken over by then and just obliterated the human race.
No, you don't want that. Then we're
God, if AI takes over, you and I are going to be the first to be killed.
We are.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
we have no hope. Humanity has no hope if AI takes over.
I'm completely okay with that now at this point. I really don't see that much of a future.
No, I see a great
You have
future.
one weekend. You have one weekend with certain people in troll chats, and now you've come
Yeah,
to this.
it's one weekend with, I mean, just sheer mental disabilities.
Conspiracy. There's so many conspiracy theory groups out there. It's crazy. The stuff that these people believe in, whether it's COVID or whether it's the future of the world, it's the WEF stuff. I'm like, what are you smoking?
The
Well, I
NWO.
mean, now to be fair, some of the
Some
WEF
of it is
people,
real. Some of it is
they're pretty open about it.
yeah.
When you have got Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum saying you're gonna own nothing and you're gonna be happy,
that I'm with you there. That I ain't
And-
liking
and-
that. I am not signing up for that.
right? And when you have people like Bill Gates saying,
Yeah.
you know what, maybe it'd be nice if the world's population was reduced.
I'm-
Oh, by the way, go vegan and get vaccinated. You're like, wait, what? Why are you giving health advice if you want to depopulate the world? And you have like people like Klaus Schwab talking about how the world's population needs to go down by 75% after
Well, I have to
2025.
say, the only thing I would say is we are way overpopulated. I agree with that. It's not good.
I mean, I don't think
the
we're
world
way
can
over.
handle 1 billion people, and we're only going to become 9 million at some point.
I'm not going to say we're actually overpopulated, but I'm kind of at the point where some depopulation wouldn't be the worst
I
case
think
scenario.
I can
put it this
actually
way, we're at
probably
max
name a few
capacity right
areas
now.
where that needs to occur.
Yeah, like there's some, like I could actually say we're not overpopulated, it's overconsumption of resources. But that being said, I'm not upset with the idea of depopulation right now.
A few people dying,
Like there's some idiots that are better off just
True,
dying.
and also the world is aging, and there are many populations that are just aging, and they are not, Japan,
Right.
China, for example. These are old countries. They're not getting new people, so they will bring the pop. China's actually
They're declining. Yeah, they
they're
are.
so and India is going up. So the
Right.
gap between India and China, population-wise, is going to be enormous.
Our villagers are saving us.
No,
Our
they're not.
villagers are saving
the
us.
same thing is
Global
occurring.
Indians,
Our villagers are saving us. They're having 8 kids a family. Yes.
No,
same,
hey, don't. No,
well,
not
I mean,
everyone
no, the same thing is occurring here in the United States. I mean, birth rates are declining massively.
They are.
I mean,
and I don't think America is an older population, but it's a sick population. A lot of there's unhealthy people dying of health issues.
Right. Yeah, it's becoming an older population, but India is fortunate because like we have all the villagers having 8 kids a family.
Okay,
so we can just
I
have
will push back when there's fake news out there. No, the average birth rate.
I'm exaggerating.
It's true. It's certain people from certain communities who will have 10 kids. Those are far and few in between. The average birth rate is 2.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying because a few families are having 10, some can have like 1, and then you're fine with the 2.
Yeah, but we'll be okay.
It balances out.
Yeah, exactly.
Very small in numbers. So yeah.
Yay, our villagers! Yay, our villagers are
have you ever
saving us.
noticed? And it's like this.
1 or 2 kids, that's
I know.
But,
I know.
Yeah,
that's
but have you ever noticed that? And this is internationally. This is not just India, but internationally. Like when these families have like these large amount of kids, it's like the weirdest freaking white trashiest type people.
It is.
Every single time. It's never like these philosophers or something like that has all these kids. No, it's like some trailer park.
No, it's all
version
ghetto
of
family. It's all ghetto.
It's all the well. I tell you what, I gotta get. I reckon I gotta have 10 kids from my farm. And in India, it's the same. Who's going to look over the village? I need
no, stop. This has nothing to do with the village. It's a religious thing. You know that.
It's part of it is that, but I'm just saying, if I own farmland in like Suryapet.
No, but even the villagers are not having the people having the kids. Again, it's a religious thing. And it's only in certain. South doesn't do it. It's only UP, certain communities.
I'm just saying, if I was in Suryapet and I had a bunch of acres that in my village, I wouldn't have as many kids.
Instead of having,
I would just no. I want the free labor. I don't.
So
No, no,
India,
no.
basically, what I'm hearing right now is has their own version of Mormons, but with kids instead of wives.
No, we do not have Mormons, and we don't.
Well,
It's not.
you just said it was more for religious reasons or having
Yeah.
that.
Well, that's
No,
why I said that. You know, I mean,
Right.
I think I'm being politically correct here, but the problem is a certain section.
Okay. No, I know where you're going with that. I'm gonna leave that alone.
Yeah, we will let that alone. That
Let's leave that alone for so many reasons. Robert says, if you think we're overpopulated, you think you need to drive from Texas to Chicago and look out the window on the way. That is so true because there's a lot of empty land in this country that people do not realize.
Wow.
Like, if I hop in a car right now from Chicago to Des Moines, I'm never making that drive again for certain people. But like,
Wow.
but it's like once you leave the area, it's just
Barren.
nothing. It's like just nothing but farmland.
Well,
Like
they should
once
develop that and move people, spread people. Why are the people concentrated in these coastal areas? It's not
Yeah,
good.
it's crazy. But then again, you say the same thing about India too. It's like, most of the people are in the cities. Like what?
Well, you
Most
have 1.4 billion people. It is a big country. It's not
right?
as big as America, but
No, but like landmass, but by per population's even more people per city. And like
yeah.
the villages are like empty.
No, I wouldn't say they're empty. There are a lot of people, obviously, in the cities, but I think it's more evenly spread out. I mean, I've traveled. It's
Right,
fun.
but my point being is like you have more in the cities than you do in like the villages and the towns.
But the cities are where the
Well,
action is.
That
And-
is
all
true.
Jobs are and all
Right.
infrastructure.
I mean,
so
you
that's the
also
same thing
have
in America.
a section of Americana like here in the South where Baton Rouge is really not that big of a city population wise, but it's
Mhm.
spread over 80 square miles.
Wow, that's a big city, man.
Right.
Okay.
So, but that's typical of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. You know,
They're
those
big-ass
states.
cities.
Everybody's just spread out. You know.
Wow.
You
Well, they
know,
like their space, I guess. But yeah.
Right. Everybody has yards. You know, everybody's not living on
Yeah.
top of each other
You know,
and stuff like that.
I think living in America, we are spoiled because there's so much space,
Yeah.
and I love it. I love space. I love that space, freedom. I just love it. I don't like Europe. It's
No,
so
Europe
tight,
is too.
so that it does not work for me.
I mean, I liked Europe when I was traveling through there way back when. but
Living there is a
living there,
nightmare.
no.
Too
Living
tight.
there would be horrible.
And Asia is like that too.
Yeah.
It's too tight. It does not work. Parts of the Middle East are okay, but really, it's America and maybe Australia is all right.
Yeah,
But-
well, that's all. That's not a knife. That's a knife. Australia's all right there, mate. Yeah, we play our cricket every day.
My God, it's a big ass country.
That's true. But the thing I do like about the States is if you're in a city, you drive an hour east or an hour west, you're in the country. That's it. Or at least in suburbia, maybe 2 hours east, depending on traffic. Fucking 294. Can't even let me leave the state in 2 hours. Anyway, the point being is like, at least you have those options. Whereas you're in other parts of the world, if you're stuck from city, that's it, unless you're on a train somewhere.
Well, in Australia, everybody is either mainly they're on the west coast. You know, the Sydney, all of it is just coastal, and 90% of the country, which is in the middle, completely barren. There is nobody there. I mean, they could develop that whole thing, and I'm wondering why are they not?
I think that might be for wildlife reasons and hunting reasons.
True,
That's
and
what I
also
would have to think of.
for land and stuff. I don't know.
Right. You know, you don't want to piss off Crocodile Dundee, but yeah, I mean, as for the States, it's like you're where? You're in LA, right?
Yeah.
And like you go to LA, but you travel 2 hours west, you got nothing but desert.
Or I can go to the snow, the Big Bear.
Right, an hour north, you got the Big Bear. And you go like and if you go like two more hours east, you're in Vegas.
Yeah. Yep.
There you go. Like there you have so many options. Whereas you're in other parts of the world, you don't have that.
You're stuck there. Like if you're in Sydney, you have to travel 3 or 4 hours to get to Blue Mountains, which is the Blue Mountains. That's different.
Right.
But a long way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a weird feeling, legally speaking, we're not going to be going to Australia anytime soon. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm gonna go this year. My parents live in Sydney,
Well, that's
and
cool.
file, and I need to go back. So very soon, I think in the next few months, I'll be going to Sydney.
All right.
I'll try to line up some media engagements or some talks or something so that I can just make it all happen and make it a worthwhile trip. That would be nice.
That
to
would
be,
be.
they have their version of like Question Time or whatever, these political shows like the Bill Maher, like they have. I could totally be on those shows. Why not?
Yeah. 2.5 hours of fun. This has
Wow.
been great. So,
All right,
when do you want to
all right.
come back on the show?
Yes, and we'll continue. We'll do a second episode of the geopolitics because there is so much to discuss.
That would be fun.
Absolutely. And don't worry, don't worry, Scott. Preeti and I will send you some Indian dishes if you're bored.
Oh yeah.
We'll send you them. We'll send you some. Along with your CSHR painting, I might send you some chicken curry later. Just kidding.
Or if we ever come over there, we'll take you out.
Right.
Pick a place.
There you go.
Or worst come to worst, I know how to cook Indian food.
Well, I mean,
Me
I'm
too.
always up for trying new
We'll
things.
cook a feast for you.
Yeah, we will for Scott, and we'll make it extra spicy so Junior doesn't eat too much.
Oh no, he's like the king of pepper.
All right,
Ooh.
in that case, let's make it spicy just for him then. There you go.
I mean, I'd have to look for it, but I think I have a video of him like being 8 years old and eating a ghost pepper.
Oh wow, good for him.
Yeah,
By the way, that comes from India. The ghost
that
pepper.
that it does. Remember, you don't touch the tongue; you eat it through the back of your mouth.
That can apply to so many different things.
And
Hey, this is a family show.
well, today it is. Jill says, "Send me several curries." Well, that country Joe.
Several different curries.
Send me several curries. Well, we'll see how that goes.
Send him like a grain of rice from each one.
I wish I had some Indian for dinner tonight. I had some vada pav the other day. I love vada pav.
Yeah,
So
vadas are good.
I actually have a samosa. I might make a samosa tonight with some other stuff. So,
I think I've noticed about Indian cooking, it's like it's the same 3 spices for veg and the same 4 spices for non-veg, and that's it.
no.
And
Disagree.
sometimes you can put your like little mixes and stuff along the way for each one.
She's gonna come to Chicago and re-educate your Indian culture, sir. I can
know.
feel it
Indian
coming.
food is so diverse. It's the most intricate. They have millions of dishes. It's not
I
that.
mean, it
Just like
can
the
be.
Indian
It's-
restaurants here, it's bad. They have awful restaurants with the same taste for everything, but that's because they're being lazy and they're essentially
No, like
Punjabi food.
I'm not talking like in the literal sense. I'm talking the foundational sense.
Yeah, I mean,
You have
it's
like 3. You have 3 for
masala.
the veg, 4 for the non-veg, and then you mix them up. Like that's what I do. Like I'll mix them up
I
afterwards.
think
but-
you add or take away from that to get the different taste. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it depends what you want to make of it. Like if you're cooking like fried rice or something, then they're gonna make it veg or not. Like some of these dishes are veg and non-veg. So you're gonna use
yeah.
like veg spices for non-veg
Everything
dishes.
you can make veg or non-veg.
Right.
Oh,
I mean, it depends how you cook it, but But yeah, I just say that so people who are like Scott who want to learn how to cook, I just make it simple for them.
I know how to cook. I just cook stuff from here.
Not Indian food.
No, I know how to cook Cajun food because.
can you make gumbo and jambalaya?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Okay,
Yeah,
because I love it. I love the gumbo part.
It's weird. Here, traditionally, the men cook. It's
Oh,
just
really?
a weird
I need
thing.
to find a man from New Orleans then, so he can.
Yeah, exactly. We gotta have that arranged.
I mean, I cook
Let's find
fairly
him.
often
Fix
here.
it.
I mean, earlier I cooked spaghetti tonight, so I mean, it's just I enjoy it. I enjoy doing it.
All right, Joe. Yeah, if you're serious about that, I might send you a few dishes. I don't know. Joe Logan's awesome.
One bite with a grain of rice from each.
No, I no. If I'm gonna, I no, I definitely cook a different way. No, we'd have fun though. One of these days, we gotta have a cooking show on the page.
Yeah, let's do that. We can make a dish and talk about, I don't know, cuisine or whatever.
Why? I don't want to
Yeah, but-
embarrass the palate people with a nice kitchen or anything.
I don't think the palate people know how to cook anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then.
Right. I mean, do you think you would trust the palate people to cook any dish?
Who are the palate people?
It's a long story. I'll explain it to you. If you follow me, if you accept my friend request on Instagram, I'll explain what the palate people are.
Palate people.
All right. Anyway, on that note, this has been another edition of The Harsh Reality. Please, or as we say in Hindi, Fir Malenge, everybody. And take care. We thank Miss India International, Preity Upala, for joining us. And we thank everyone's favorite Polynesian Cajun, Scott Saunier, for holding down the ones and twos.
That's right. You've been listening to the Crayola Sec Harsh Reality on internet radio. We had a few bleeps in there tonight on terrestrial, but it's okay. I'm not going to fuss at anybody today. It's all right. Anyway, this has been the Monday special edition of the Crayola Sec Harsh Reality. Crayola Sec Harsh Reality, CSHR Radio, all productions and Pelican Media 2023. Copyright, all rights reserved. Y'all have a great night, and we'll see you again tomorrow night.
Yeah. With the regular crew.